So far in 2025, I've kept over 10 extremely unique pets from every corner of the world. So I've turned all those separate videos into a massive movie compilation. Axolotls, piranhas, black widows, and even two-headed snakes. So grab some pizza and snacks, cause you are in for a crazy journey. Today, I found a listing of someone selling a pet axolotl's home. When I clicked on it, I saw an absolute disgrace of an enclosure. I mean, the water was brown, there was random trash, and somehow there was a live axolotl inside. Apparently, the seller's uncle gave it to him and he needed someone to take care of it for him. But $5. Dang, that's extremely cheap. Let me go save this axolotl. So I drove out to the seller and bought the tank with the axolotl for $5. Okay, I just got this in my car and we gotta take this home to see if the axolotl inside is gonna be able to survive. And I really hope it's okay, because if it is, I'm gonna completely revamp this home into a dream home paradise so we can give this axolotl his best life. Quickly, I went home and set up a filter in the water so I would be able to see inside. But after letting it run for 30 minutes, the water literally did not clear up at all. Okay, I have no time to waste, so I'm just gonna try and dig around and scoop it out with this net, even though I can't see anything. So I started to take each decoration out one by one, and it didn't take long until I saw this little thing at the bottom of the net. I had found the axolotl, and thankfully it was still in good health. So I quickly moved it out into a temporary tank and was super surprised by what I saw. Guys, this is not a normal axolotl. This is actually a super rare axolotl. It has the golden trait and it also looks like it's albino and a baby. To put in perspective how rare this is, this whole tank was like $5, as you know. I could probably sell this right now as it is for over $100. And little did I know, this axolotl was even rarer than I thought. It actually had a special gene that made it be able to glow in the dark and more. Yeah, this video is insane. Anyways, to start the enclosure transformation process, step number 1 was to empty out that disgusting sewage water. Okay, I don't even know where to begin with how bad this tank is. Pretty much every decoration's a fake plastic one. The substrate is absolutely nasty, and just the whole thing has no structure to it. It's just plain ugly. So I took out all the trash decorations and threw them in the garbage where they belong. Then I emptied out all the sand, since I'm pretty sure that's what was causing the water to be so brown. And finally, what the heck is this, bro? Why did the seller's uncle just tape a picture of bamboo on the wall? It doesn't fit, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, axolotls don't live with bamboo. Yeah, that is so dumb. Let's rip this trash off of there. Anyways, now that we're back to the bare bones of this tank, the first step is to build the lake bed base. To build that, we start by just putting a ton of sand in here and piling it up in a mound in the middle of the tank, because I have a cool idea for this. You see, axolotls live at the bottom of lakes in the wild, so to build that in here, I stuck some wooden branches in the sand and surrounded them in a ton of river rocks. Which, if you're wondering the names of them, this type is called a Tahaiji stone, and this one is called a Seiryu stone. Yeah, I don't know who names these, but I would just call them smooth stone and rough stone. Those are better names. Anyways, I also want to cover these mounds in tons of aquatic plants, which if you've seen my channel before, you know these are extremely expensive. I mean, look at all of these. This totals to $125. Please subscribe. Well, I forced myself to forget the price while I planted them around, and I made it look absolutely beautiful. I put the taller plants near the back of the mound and the smaller plants up near the front, since it adds some nice depth in here, or something like that. Alright, it's starting to look pretty good, but to complete the sides, this is where we're going to put the custom DIY builds. And you see, in the wild, axolotls like to hide in little rock caves because that's where they feel safe from predators. So I'm gonna build a custom little cave on the right side, and to start that, I found this basket in my house. Oh, this is gonna work perfectly. Let's just get that out of there. With this, I started by getting out a heavy-duty saw and cutting a hole in it that would serve as the entrance to the cave. And then I quickly sanded down the rough edges and used my hot glue gun to start gluing these little thin gray rocks all around it to obviously give it that cave look. And after I was done gluing all those on, it actually looked pretty solid. But as you can see, some of the hot glue I used to connect it was still exposed, so I quickly covered that in some pebbles. Once I was done, I put the enclosure in, and it didn't really fit. So I took it out and rearranged some of the rocks and put it back in, and boom, perfect fit. There we go. I think that cave looks pretty good in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, it is a pretty small entrance to get inside. But obviously the rare axolotl is still a baby, so it should be able to fit in there just fine. Anyways, I finished it off by putting some plants right out in front and a couple big rocks on top to make it look more cavey. There we go. Everything's starting to come together well, but now it's time to design the left side. And if you guys remember, that first version of the tank had this big, ugly, like bamboo wallpaper along the back. But anyways, this did actually get me kind of inspired. And for the left side, I want to make it just like bamboo themed, you know? We got to keep a little bit of the original, because I guess it wouldn't really be transforming if we didn't. So let's get that done. For the first decoration, I of course got out some brown sticks of bamboo, so it'd be bamboo-y, you know? And on each stick of bamboo, I started to drill little holes. You see, axolotls like to have resting spots near the top of their enclosures. That way they can easily swim up and gulp air from the surface. So to build something like that, I got out some string and started to thread all the bamboo together. I kind of felt like a grandma doing this, you know, sewing away with a needle. Yeah, it was pretty fun though. Anyways, I hot glued the ends of the string so they wouldn't move, and boom, check this out. A bamboo hammock that the axolotl can rest on. In order to get it attached to the top of the enclosure, I once again used some hot glue to put on some little suction cups, and in no time it was complete. Alright, there we go. Check the hammock out. I'm sure the axolotl is going to like to lay on this. And yeah, to complete this left side, we're going to add a little more bamboo decoration. And so in the sand, I want to put some live actual bamboo. It's curly for some reason. I don't really know why, but I'm going to plant this in the sand. So I put each of the bamboos there under the hammock and covered it in a mound of sand. But I'm not done yet. I've been saving the coolest addition for last. And this next thing is going to take this from a normal aquarium to, well, if I'm being honest, it's probably still going to be kind of normal, but it's going to be cooler looking. Now to build this thing, I first got out some giant plastic boards and glued them together to make one giant board. Then I covered it all with some black felt. Now you're probably wondering why I built this giant black platform. But basically the reason is because I can go and put it right behind the tank just like this. And then now what I'm gonna do is use these things called plant pockets, glue them to the back of that, and basically what this allows me to do is, you know, put plants in them, and we're gonna have some overhanging plants in here. But first I needed to go get the plants, so like always I drove to Walmart. Okay, I'm at Walmart now, and look at this. Bro, this is usually where all the plants are, and for some reason they replaced them all with plastic Christmas trees. Who cares about these? I want my plants back. All they got is these stupid roses. Yeah, it turns out the plants are gone from Walmart for the season, so instead I had to go to a normal, boring plant shop and get the plants there. Okay, I was kind of sad that I had to abandon Walmart, but this was only like $50 for all these plants. Like, dang, that's actually a good deal. It's definitely cheaper than those aquatic plants. We don't talk about those, though. When I got home, I got out the plants and put them all inside their little pockets. And dang, check this whole thing out. It actually looks all right. Just don't go around and look at the back. Yeah, it's kind of curving, but honestly, it kind of gives a cool effect. You know, it makes the plant leaves drip over the top. Anyways, now to complete the build, I just got to do some finishing touches. And what that means is I first filled it up with some cycled water and attached a filter on it. Okay, I've never used one of these filters before, but apparently it's pretty cool. I just got to go and plug it in down here. And dang, check this out. Look, it's like a waterfall. It makes a bunch of these little water streams. But I guess when I want it to be quiet, I can just go like that. And there we go. Can't really hear it anymore. Now I saved the best thing for last, this little gift present. Okay, this is actually cool what's inside. Basically, it's in this little glass crystal ball with a hologram of an axolotl inside. There we go. So what you do is you put it on this little platform, and basically it just kind of glows there and changes colors. Anyways, this is now completely transformed, and it's time to not only add in the golden axolotl to his new home, but show off exactly what axolotls do during their days and show off how it can literally glow in the dark. So I scooped it up out of its temporary enclosure, and bada bing, bada boom, welcome to your new home. Right away, he started to explore around his new tank and eventually made his way into the cave I built for him. Okay, so the axolotl's in the cave right now, so this is the perfect time to test out some foods with him to see which he likes the most. And first up, I want to test just some normal fish food. Yeah, I don't know if he's actually going to eat it. It's fish food, it's not axolotl food, but let's try it out. So I dropped them in and let them sit for a little while, but yeah, he didn't really eat them, and he didn't even come out to take a look at them. A little later, the axolotl left the cave, so I got out the second food, bloodworms. But these are frozen bloodworms, so to make them, you know, not frozen anymore, just kind of plop the packet in a little cup of water like that. And we can go and just take this big chunk and put it in right next to the axolotl. And it didn't take long until he noticed it and instantly took a snap at it, eating the whole pile up. And oh my gosh, he just ate that whole thing. Oh dang, he's hungry. Anyways, I got the third and final food source out, night crawlers. Which are just worms basically, but they're giant worms compared to those tiny little blood worms. Okay, here we go. We got a nice little tiny piece of worm and we're just gonna drop it in right next to the axolotl. And after wiggling it around in front of him, he picked up the scent, and as you can expect, yep, he started going crazy, eating this worm up too. He's absolutely just devouring this, just shaking it up. He's not letting this thing get away. That's a good axolotl. Oh my gosh, this guy's so cool. We actually got this guy for $5. I can't believe that. Anyways, later that day, I was watching some videos about axolotls and figured out that sometimes they can be bred to literally glow in the dark under UV light. Which, I mean, look at that. That is just so cool. Okay, so I got all the lights turned off in my room and it's nighttime. So I got this little light, and when you click the button, it turns on the UV rays, and oh, that's blinding. But anyways, I just want to shine this in here and see if my axolotl actually has that glow in the dark ability. I actually have no idea if this is gonna work. Wait. Oh, okay, wait. I actually did not expect that to work. Oh, look at the axolotl. He's just glowing in the dark. Yeah, I don't really know what I expected, but it's actually pretty cool. So for whatever reason, if I can't find the axolotl, I just turn off the lights, click this button, and boom, you're found, buddy. You're never gonna be able to hide from me ever again. But guys, there is still way more, and as the video goes on, the pets get more and more unique. And next up, we got something so weird you probably wouldn't consider it a pet. We've all seen piranhas in movies depicted as these crazy evil fish that will eat anything they lay their eyes on. But despite how deadly they're made out to be, for some reason, you can legally buy them to keep as a pet. So I'm gonna buy 6 piranhas, build them a home, and test to see if they're actually as vicious as the movies made them out to be. Meaning, yes, I will be putting my hand inside of their tank. What could go wrong? Let's just buy this thing. And so literally the next day, the delivery van dropped off the package that supposedly had the cold-blooded killing piranhas. That was fast. I'm hoping all these guys survived the shipping, since as you can see, it's pretty cold out. But anyways, let's get these inside. So I got out this 20-gallon tank I had laying around and filled it up with some cycled water. Then I cut open the tape on the box that had the piranhas inside. Oh shoot, bro. There's literally piranhas right under my hand. Let me take this bag out. And oh, I cannot believe I'm gonna be keeping these as pets. What the heck? Thankfully, every single piranha had survived the shipping, so I put all 6 of them into the tank. But when I put them in, I realized they were barely moving and definitely not acting like normal vicious piranhas. And look, I can literally drop a cricket into the water, and usually they would go crazy immediately eating that up. But check it out, no reaction at all. You see, the reason they're not moving is because they need a way bigger tank with all the right stuff inside. So I got out a new tank and filled it with 100 pounds of sand. We gotta do this because of course the first step is creating the floor and decorations. To continue this process, I started to use these sort of thin sticks and use a hot glue gun to hang them from the top of the enclosure. You see, these piranhas that I bought are red-bellied piranhas, which are supposedly the most vicious species, and they live in the Amazon River where there's all these roots and stuff hanging in the water, so that's what I'm trying to recreate in here with this. Anyways, next up, it was time to use even more wood. You see, this time I want to stack up some thicker wood to make it look like a massive tree trunk is growing from out of the water. So I actually took the wood out and used some water-safe spray foam to connect all the pieces together with some branches coming off of them. And then once all the spray foam and stuff on it has dried, we just plop it in there like that. And boom, there we go. Check it out. You can even see the roots and stuff. It's pretty cool. It looks like a tree, but there's still a bit more decorations we have to put inside of here. First of all, you guessed it, just some more wood randomly scattered around, but then some rocks because pretty much every Amazon riverbed has them. And finally, some pebbles like this, which I dropped around the enclosure, and some even tinier little pebbles, which I also dropped around the enclosure, which makes the sand across the whole thing look a little more realistic. Well, I'd say this is a pretty good start to the base of the tank, but now it's time for the fun part. Let's go get some aquatic plants for this. Okay, I'm at Petco, and I'm not gonna lie, the aquatic plant section is looking a little lousy today. Pretty much all these plants are like dead. Bro, no way I'm paying $10 for a dead stick with a little leaf. But let's buy all the ones here that are alive like this. So I picked out all the good plants and even found this little cool vine one, which of course I had to get to. So I drove home and got all the plants out. Oh man, this is already the most plants I've gotten for a video, and that's not even including this big bag of leftover plants Petco had. Anyways, I went and put each of the plants in the sand across the tank and filled it up with a bit of water. That way the roots of the plants could stay nice and moist while we continued building. Oh, and I almost forgot the most important part, this vine thing. Let's just put this across the branches like that, and oh yeah, check it out. It looks like a vine. Well, next up, as you can see, I've left this little area here empty. That's because I want to build a graveyard here with a ton of skulls and stuff, because apparently piranhas are deadly. So I drove out to buy some. Okay, I'm at PetSmart first, and I found this skull decoration, so I'm gonna get that. Ooh, and they got a tiny little animal skull. I'm definitely gonna get that too. So I bought those and a couple more decorations with skeletons on them. Then after getting home, I put some of the larger skulls around in the sand. I even replaced some of the rocks in the back with them, so this place would look extra spooky. Then with these tiny little skull beads, I'm gonna go and plant them around in the sand, just like that. Then I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of sand on top so it looks like they've been buried. And there we go, check the graveyard out. It actually looks pretty good. Bunch of skulls on the floor, all those other big skulls. Yeah, I like it. And now finally, to finish this tank, we gotta do the DIY technologies. And for the first one, I have one of my coolest ideas ever, but I had to go buy more stuff at the store. All right, it's been a while since I went to Walmart in a video. You guys were kind of getting mad at me in the comments, so I'm sorry. I'm returning to my basics, don't worry. And the reason I'm at Walmart is because I gotta get a bunch of food that the piranhas are gonna like. So I got some beef, sardines, tuna, and bone broth, and also got this tiny little blender. After driving home, I threw all that food I just bought into the blender and blended it up. After it was done, as you can see, it turned into this nasty liquid stuff. But anyways, I sucked the liquid up into the syringe thing and brought it over to the tank. Okay, this might seem kind of complex, but it's actually genius. You see, I can basically squirt some of this around in the water, and it just spreads the scent around. And what I'm gonna do is attach it to the side of the enclosure, and whenever I want to get the piranhas mad and in hunting mode, I just squirt a little bit of this out the end, and it'll make them go absolutely crazy. So I attached that to the side of the tank with some glue, and then it was done. And now the next technology is these two water pumps and some bubble walls that I started to set up across the whole back of the tank. You see, right now this stuff does nothing, but once I fill up the entire tank with some cycled water, which took a long time because of how big it was, check out what it can do. All right, now if I go and plug in these pumps, as you can see, it starts to make bubbles at the back of the enclosure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But basically this little air pump just blows air into this tube, which goes into there. But what I could actually do is unattach that and just blow into this myself to make bubbles. That was cool. Anyways, the last technology is this little fish. I'm just kidding. I've actually already shown this in a video before. So what I've got is the upgraded version. Yeah, this one's way bigger and way cooler. Which, as you can see, if I just go and put it in the water like this, it starts to swim around like a normal fish. And yeah, I just think it'd be funny if I maybe tested the piranhas to see if they try to eat it or something. Anyways, this tank is now complete. And speaking of the piranhas, it's time to get them inside. Okay, I'm gonna try my best to not get bit here. Oh no. So I grabbed the temporary tank they were in and brought it over to their new home so I could scoop them out. Okay, they definitely look more aggressive than the first time I did this, but I'm just gonna carefully scoop one guy out just like that. Oh shoot, he's mad, but I'm just gonna put him into the new tank, and there you go. Be free, my friend. New home. So I did that same process with the other 5, and there we go. The piranhas were in their new home. And as you could guess, immediately they packed up like piranhas do and looked as though they were already on the hunt for food once again. Well, these piranhas look pretty hungry, I'm not gonna lie, or maybe piranhas are just always hungry. So now I'm gonna feed them the first of 5 different food sources to see which they like the most. The first of which being mealworms. And before feeding them the mealworms, if you remember, I had this pipe with the delicious juice inside, which I went and squirted inside to let the piranhas know it was feeding time. And as you could guess, they immediately started to go up and eat it, which kind of made a mess, but yeah, they were loving it. Oh my gosh, do you see that? They're all gathering around the little area where I just put it in. So now that they were ready, I dropped in the mealworms and one started to sink down. 2 of the piranhas noticed it and kind of took nibbles at it, but they were kind of just playing around with it more than they were actually eating it. And that same thing kept happening with most of mealworms, but that was until I saw this, where 3 of them took turns devouring it up, and yeah, this one actually got eaten. Okay, well, mealworms, I'm gonna give about like a 2 out of 10 on how much the piranhas like them. But as you can see, second on the list, we're gonna be feeding them crickets. Now, if you remember at the start, the piranhas wanted nothing to do with the crickets, but let's see how they'll react now that they're in this new tank. So I dropped in just one, and because it was just floating there, I grabbed it with tweezers to show the piranhas. Instantly, you could see they picked up the memo that this was alive, and they sort of started to nibble it like the mealworms. But not even a single piranha actually took a big enough bite to eat this cricket. Okay, that was pretty bad. The crickets, I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10 because the mealworms, they at least did eat some of them. I guess these piranhas just don't really like insects, so that's why I'm gonna rapid fire the next 2 off. Here you can see I've got salmon and ground beef, which is a lot more smelly. They better like this. I started by waving the salmon around in the water until the piranhas noticed it, and once a few started to come up and nibble it, I accidentally dropped it into the sand where all the rest of the piranhas came swimming up. They huddled around it like a pack of hyenas and started to actually take little chunks out of the piece for them to eat. So I did the same thing with the ground beef and held it in the water. And this time the piranhas were even more interested, and instantly the entire pack huddled around it and took turns taking their bites out of it. I even noticed that the scraps of it had fallen onto the floor and were getting surrounded by the piranhas too. Well dang, I'm gonna give the salmon an 8 out of 10 and the ground beef a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, they loved that so much, but that doesn't mean I gotta do my hand now. I said I would do it in the intro, so, you know, let's just do it. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Start the timer. Let's see how long I can keep it in here. Right away, nothing really happened because none of the piranhas were near my hand. But I knew this was kind of cheating, so I moved my hand closer, where right away, one sort of noticed me and actually started to chase my hand as I moved it away to avoid getting bit. So of course, I moved my hand back over to the pack, where some of them definitely got sort of close to biting me, but they were nowhere near as aggressive as they were towards the beef. You see, it's actually a common misconception that piranhas are evil towards humans like all the movies say. But to be honest, if you're a viewer watching this, I would not personally test it. I'm just crazy, so please subscribe for risking my hand for this content. So yeah, piranhas aren't as vicious as you may think, but next up is one of my favorite pets, an entire ant colony. You gotta see this one. Today, I just got this. It's a queen ant, who in this video will be giving birth to an entire colony, and they're gonna be put to the test against my simulations of real world events. But currently, she's alone, and she needs to care for her eggs until they hatch into worker ants. And thankfully, it didn't take very long until just that happened. The first worker was born. You see, these are trapjaw ants, a species of ant that has these massive mandibles to cut their prey in half. But they're also absolutely massive compared to normal ants, and the workers are almost the same size as the queens. And in the world of ants, the workers have only one purpose: to serve the queen. Workers do almost everything for the queens, including cleaning her and even caring for the other eggs. But I want to make my colony grow extra fast, and you do that by feeding them food. And since it's so small with just 2 ants, let's just start with a single drop of honey. Hopefully they like it. So I slid the drop of honey into the tube for the ants to eat, and almost instantly the worker went up to investigate this unknown object. She smelled around it for a second, but then went back to the queen to report the findings. The worker is able to communicate with the queen by rubbing its antenna against hers. When they do this, it releases some pheromones signaling that it found some honey. And after the queen gave the go-ahead, the worker traveled back to the honey. But instead of eating it, the worker actually knocked the little plate over, and then the honey soaked into the sand over the next 10 minutes. Yeah, she didn't even try to eat it actually. You see, it turns out the ant did this for a reason. When a colony is this small, the queen will feed the workers by regurgitating its body tissues into their mouth. This means the colony already had enough food for now. I was gonna have to wait till more ants hatched until they wanted extra food. So that's exactly what I did. There were now 4 workers a part of the colony, and their roles were becoming a lot more apparent. 2 of them would always stay by the queen to make sure she was safe, while the other 2 would watch after the eggs and guard the entrance. Now this is a colony that should accept my food offerings. And this time, I'm not just gonna feed them a puny drop of honey, it's time for some live prey, baby. Everyone say hello to flightless fruit flies. Quite literally the most depressing animal in the world. Not only are they absolutely minuscule, but it's a fly that can't fly. Like, bro, you had one job and you can't do it. All right, it's a pretty simple process. So first of all, I got this tube with the flightless fruit fly inside of it. And basically, I'm just gonna go and put this up to the ant's tube and carefully remove the cotton ball, and there we go. The fly should now run in there. Hopefully this goes better than the honey. And yeah, basically the fly instantly ran into the ant's tube, so I blocked it up behind him. Now, because this fly is so small, for the first few seconds, it actually went unnoticed, hiding amongst the top of the enclosure, but it didn't take long until the first worker noticed. The ant opened up its jaws and snapped at the fly, but it missed. Quickly, the other workers started to notice, and soon enough, every ant had their eyes on the fly. And thankfully, about a minute later, one of the workers lined up a shot, and boom. Just like that, the fly is definitely not alive anymore. And the fly slowly got taken to the back of the tube to be stored as food for later. Since the colony now had a bit of food, I let them grow even more. And oh boy, was the tube starting to get crowded now, with 3 more workers and 1 one more about to hatch. And while this is great for my colony, as you can tell, the tube is getting extremely cramped. Some of the ants can't even walk around. So I'm gonna have to move these guys into a new home. But here on the Terra Green channel, we're not just gonna go online and buy an ant nest. Oh, no. What I did instead is take out a brick, which I'm gonna turn into an ant nest. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Basically, I just started using a hammer and chisel to carve out this little nest design I drew on the brick. You see, ant colonies usually like to have multiple of these little tight crevice areas in their nest because it lets them store different things like eggs, food, and trash in each one. After I finished carving, I gave the whole thing a nice blue paint job, and finally I covered it with a clear acrylic sheet. And the best part is this little hole I made right here, which I can go and squeeze water down into this sponge. And this will just make the humidity across the whole enclosure correct, because apparently ants like wetness. Well, anyways, here is the beautiful Terra Green ant nest, which is now ready for the trapjaw ants. Using some tubing, I put one end of it onto the nest and the other end onto the tube. And almost instantly, one of the workers took an interest and decided to walk down the tube. It had no idea where it led, but it took the brave decision to explore. But as we know, it led straight to the new nest. The worker looked super excited and explored all around the new place. It was the perfect place for the colony to move to. So she traveled out of the nest and went straight up to the queen to report its findings. Alright, now that the ants know about the new nest, in order for them to move in, I have to make this one super appealing so then they all want to come over. And I've got a couple things I'm going to do, but first of all, I've got a tube of sugar water, which I'm just going to go and plug into the side of the nest like that. And then I'm going to replace this clear acrylic sheet for now with this little red acrylic sheet. You see, ants like their nest to be very dark inside. So I'm using this red acrylic because it blocks out pretty much all the light, but still lets me see inside a bit. Finally, I just pointed my bright studio light at the tube so they'd be more inclined to move. And it didn't take very long until a few different workers all went in to explore the new nest. Eventually, every ant knew about the new home. And while some grabbed the remaining eggs to move, others, like this worker, escorted the queen through the tube to the new nest. I decided to keep the red acrylic screen on while they're adjusting, and as you can see, they were definitely very active inside. So I left them alone another whole 10 days. And when I came back, not only did another worker or two hatch, the whole colony was now functioning even more smoothly, and it seemed like every ant was always busy doing something. They even found this tight little crevice to keep the queen and all the eggs inside of. And this is where it gets fun, because now that the ants have their own little nest, I can build them a bunch of different outworlds of different environments that they can go and hunt for food inside of. And as you can see, I've got the first little outworld right here. Let me build it. For this first outworld, I want to keep it simple by just laying down some orange sand across the whole enclosure. Then I put in some rocks and a little cactus, which was kind of hard to get planted in the sand. And even though I was wearing these gloves, it kept poking me, and yeah, it kind of hurts. Anyways, finally, the most important part is this stuff called Fluon. Basically, it's a liquid that you dab onto a cotton ball and rub across the top of the enclosure. This stuff will basically just dry on the glass and make the top of the enclosure so slippery that ants cannot escape no matter what. After the desert enclosure was done, I connected a tube from it into the nest so the ants could go there. And soon enough, I saw a worker come out into the tube, and of course, she made her way over to the desert outworld and started to explore all around it. Now, the reason for why I built this outworld. I want to test the trapjaw mandibles to see if they can take down prey bigger than them. I'm gonna put a cricket in here. So without wasting any time, I dropped the cricket in, and it didn't take very long until the cricket came across paths with an ant. You see, trapjaw ants have these little hairs inside of their jaws to detect when prey is within striking distance. It lunged at the cricket and snapped its jaws, but it missed. The ant tried to attack the cricket a few more times, but all of the shots were missing. In fact, it was taking so long that the cricket made its way into the tube and crawled all the way into the nest with all the other ants. Now, it wasn't just about food. The colony needed to take down this cricket in order to make sure the queen didn't get hurt. While the cricket frantically ran around, almost all of the workers were taking their shots to try and cut off the cricket's leg or something. It was taking a long time, but eventually this worker here really put in some focus to line up her shots. And when she snapped, she perfectly got a hold of the cricket. She then picked it up and slammed it against the floor until it stopped moving. Yes, it's extremely brutal, but the colony had now successfully eliminated the threat and stored it away as food for later. Anyways, over the next few days, I continued to monitor the colony to ensure their eggs were all growing fine, and even fed them a bit more flightless fruit flies until finally it was day 97. The colony now had 12 workers, and of course the queen. But I did actually notice over in the corner of the nest, one of the ants had curled up and had died. It's likely that this dead ant here was one of the founding workers, because sometimes those first ants only only have the lifespan of a month or two. Anyways, despite the dead ant, the colony was actually still thriving. And because of that, I think this colony is now ready for an entire new outworld to be built. Because as you can see, they kind of just turned the desert into like a trash dumping ground. So I got out the enclosure and started to build it. For this enclosure, I'm literally making the floor out of just this fake grass material that is nice and bright and green. And for the decorations, I'm keeping it very simple with just these two little pieces of bark. And finally, I just hooked up some tubing so the ants could access the new place. I didn't want to rush them though, so I gave the colony a few days to explore it on their own. And all of the ants were fine on day 98 and day 99. But I came back on day 100 to just a single ant in the nest. I was really confused, but surely they were all just exploring the outworlds or something. So I checked the desert and nothing was there. Then I checked the grassy outworld. Still not a single ant. But then I found it. The tiniest gap under the red acrylic. Barely visible, but it was just big enough for every ant to be able to escape through it overnight, except the one. And this wasn't just any ant inside of here, it was the queen. Queens don't just leave the nest unless other ants escort them. So she was here all alone on day 100, just like she was on day 1. This is seriously so crazy. I mean, I had such cool plans for day 100, but I can't find a single worker ant literally anywhere. I checked all around the table. I figured there was only one right thing to do. So I got a cotton ball, I scooped the queen up onto it, and put her into a new test tube. She had raised the start of a colony all by herself once, so she should be able to do it again. Yeah, well, it sucks that the ants escaped, but anyway, speaking of ants, the next pet is actually called a velvet ant, but most people call it a cow killer, and you'll quickly figure out why it's called that. There's this insanely viral YouTube video where a guy named Coyote Peterson lets himself get stung by a cow killer, and based off of his reaction, you can tell this insect has one of the most painful stings in the entire world. Now, normally you would want to stay away from these things, but I just found a website that will sell you one as a pet. They say this thing's called a cow killer because its sting is powerful enough to kill a literal cow. Huh, what could go wrong? Let's just buy this at the cart. So in this video, I'm gonna build it at home, show off everything about keeping a pet cow killer, which means yes, I am going to let it crawl on my arm. If it stings me, I am going to be in so much pain. But until it got delivered to my house, I got out the enclosure and a bunch of desert rocks to build its home. To start, I stacked each of the rocks in this pattern that would create a canyon look in here. Now, the reason I bought these types of rocks is because they look like the rocks in real canyons. But yeah, because they look so realistic, these rocks were very expensive. Yes, that's actually how much they costed. We don't talk about that. You see, cow killers live in deserts in the wild, which sort of makes sense because all of the most deadly and painful animals live in the desert. Anyways, to finish the canyon look in this enclosure, I got some of this excavator sand stuff. You see, if I add this bowl of water to this tub of the sand and, you know, pour it in there like that, then just go and mix it up with my hand. And after a minute, it turns it into this clay substrate, which I can kind of make into a nice ball of, poop. Yes, it's kind of nasty. But basically, using this clay, I'm gonna go and stick it in between each of these rocks to kind of glue them together, and we're gonna have a nice completed canyon look in here. Anyways, after putting that all over the rocks and letting it dry, it ended up looking pretty good. But the next step to finishing this desert is, of course, to put some sand in here, because, you know, deserts, they have to have sand. But before putting the sand in, first I've got these big bags of black rocks, and apparently if I scatter this around the floor before putting the sand in, it should help absorb any extra moisture, and that'll prevent any mold from growing in this desert. Next up, I got out another container and filled it with some sand and some of this soil to make the desert substrate. Basically, the reason why I'm using this as the substrate is because when I put the plants and cactuses inside, this soil is going to provide a lot of nutrients, so they're able to grow nice and tall, and we get a fully fledged desert in here. So I went and poured that on top of all of the carbon and pushed it up against the rocks to make the desert floor. But as you can see, this doesn't really look like a desert because of how much dirt I added to that substrate, so I quickly poured a thin layer of just normal sand on top so it would look like a desert once again. Alright, this is already starting to look like a good cow killer enclosure, but to make it even better, it's time to add in some plants and decorations. First, for the decorations, and that basically just means wood and rocks, because that's pretty much all deserts have, to be honest. They're pretty boring. First of all, I put some of this spider wood around the tank randomly, and even used some of it to make little bridges across the canyons that the cow killer would be able to walk on. Then I got some of these longer sticks and put them on the side of the canyon to make it look like there were roots growing from it or something. Yeah, pretty cool. But I did end up getting two cool decorations, which are right here. The first of which is these little logs, which are called choya wood. And the reason these are a cool decoration is because choya
Choya choya, it's a cool word to say, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, and also they're good because they have all these little holes so the cow killer can run inside and then just hide and make a home in there. So yeah, that's good. And for the second cool decoration, I got a live scorpion. I'm just kidding. It's actually not a live scorpion. Oh, it's a plastic toy scorpion, but you know, it's a desert, so I think it'll fit pretty well. I'm just gonna put it right in this empty spot there. Take a look at that. Looks pretty deserty.
Now for the plants. And as you know, not many things can live in the deserts since it's so dry. So our only options are succulents and cacti, which of course are able to absorb tons of water.
But I don't have any of those types of plants, so I gotta go to the store. Let's go. Okay, so as you guys can see, I'm at Home Depot. And the reason I'm here to get plants is because I saw a comment from one of you guys saying you got 820 plants for $30. And that seems like a pretty good deal. I mean, it's probably a typo or something, but let's just go see if Home Depot has any good deals on plants.
So I made my way over to the garden section expecting there to be a ton of plants. But when I got there was literally nothing.
Bro, there is not a single plant in sight. What is this?
But apparently because it was winter, they just moved most of the plants inside because I ended up finding this little collection of plants.
Dang, look at all these succulents. Wait, this is actually exactly what I need. Okay, let me just pick out a few of these. And of course, let's get some cactuses like down here, or cacti. I don't know how to say it plural.
So I picked out a nice selection, and while I didn't get as good of a deal as that comment said, it still only costed like $20 for all these plants, which is pretty good. Anyways, to plant these desert plants, I shook off all the excess dirt and planted just the roots in the sand. And in no time, it was done. But the final step to finishing the cow killer's home is insects. And I've got two different species of insects I want to put in here. First of all, you already know I've got springtails, the extremely tiny white creepy bug things. And yeah, there's just like 1,000 of them in here. All these tiny little white things moving. Those are all springtails.
But these are extra important in a desert enclosure like this because every now and then I'm gonna have to go and spray each of the plants down and water them, and the springtails will make sure to eat up any extra mold that grows because of all the moisture. So yeah, they're pretty useful. Let's just dump these guys in here. Yeah, pretty good.
And second of all, I've got these things, which are mealworms.
But the real reason why I'm gonna put these guys in the enclosure is because I'm kind of interested to see if the cow killer is gonna go and just sting them, to be honest. I don't really know if the cow killer eats insects like this, but I guess I'm gonna figure out with you guys once we put them in here.
Well, this desert enclosure is now complete, and that means I gotta get the pet cow killer. Yeah, I don't even know why I get pets like this.
Well, guys, it took a long time for this to get delivered, and I don't even know why it says live fish if there's a cow killer in here. But anyways, I guess it's time to bring this thing inside, show off exactly what a pet cow killer is like, and of course, let it crawl on my arm. I know I keep bringing this up, but seriously, if I get stung by this thing, I'm going to be in this much pain. Like, just look at this guy's face. I just don't want to do that. But anyways, let's just go inside and open this.
So I cut the tape and got the container out that supposedly the bug was inside.
Okay, so this is not so promising. It's just a clear plastic container with a paper towel. Well, I guess let me just carefully take the lid off, and okay, please, hopefully nothing jumps out at me.
I very carefully used some tweezers to move the paper towel into another container. And then I carefully moved around that paper towel to try and reveal the cow killer.
Oh, I think I see it in there. Wait, do you see that? Hold on, look at this. Oh, that's the cow killer. This may not look like it, but this thing right here is one of the most painful stinging insects, or not even insects, just animals in the entire world.
But I couldn't just move it straight inside of the new enclosure because first I had to build the rest of it on so it wouldn't be able to escape. Because if it did, that would be really bad.
Okay, well, it's right here, so I'm just gonna risk it for the biscuit and pick it up super carefully. And drop it. Okay, you're in your new home. Enjoy it.
Soon enough, the bug crawled out of its paper towel and started to explore around his new home. But considering the cow killer spent the last week in that shipping box, it's probably pretty hungry. So I wanted to get it fed right away.
And when you search it on Google, it says the cow killers like to eat nectar, larvae, and adult insects. So I think first I'm going to feed them some of this insect jelly food, which I usually feed to my crickets. But basically, it should replicate the nectar that they find in flowers in the wild.
So I opened up the pack of jelly and put it right in front of the cow killer. Within about a minute, it must have picked up the scent because it crawled right up to it and just stayed there looking like it was eating it.
Yo, look at the cow killer. It just put its face straight up to the jelly and is just devouring it, I'm pretty sure.
And yeah, he really just sat there for 20 whole minutes eating it, and I eventually just took the jelly away from him because I didn't want him to eat too much.
Anyways, I want to see if this cow killer is going to eat the other stuff that Google said it would eat. And one of the things it said it would eat is adult insects. And if you remember, I did put meal mealworms in here. Let me see if I can find one. Here we go. There's just a mealworm in the sand right there. But I just want to bring this right over to the cow killer and see if it reacts if I just drop it right next to it. Let's see what happens here.
Now, right away, the cow killer noticed the mealworm and went straight up to it. But while it even started to crawl on top of the mealworm, it didn't really seem to care at all that it was there. In fact, it kind of just put its mouth on the sand where the insect jelly was just sitting to try and suck up any of the last sugar that was there. So yeah, I guess they don't really eat insects.
All right, so nighttime, and I got my mom in here. Say hi.
Hi.
Now, the reason I got my mom in here is because I was gonna need her to film the cow killer when it walked on my arm. But first, I had to show her the bug.
Can you just guess what's inside real quick, based off the desert?
Some sort of bug.
Yeah, it is a bug. Actually, you can probably see it. It's in this little container right here. Basically, if I take this off, it's this little red creature bug thing, and it's called a cow killer because they say its sting is painful enough to be able to kill a literal cow.
What?
Yeah, so
Are you
basically,
serious?
the reason I brought you in today is because I just want you to film me, basically letting it crawl on me, because I was just thinking, you know, like I just want to bond with it.
That sounds like a really bad idea.
So first, I'm going to start by picking up its abdomen with these tweezers. Now, don't worry, this doesn't actually hurt the bug because it has a super strong abdomen. It's just basically like a skeleton. Oops, I dropped it.
But eventually, I picked it up again and put it inside of the container.
Okay, you got a good shot. So basically, I'm just going to start by putting this like this. I don't want to get it mad when it crawls out. I just want to let it crawl out itself.
And this will kill a cow.
Well, yeah, that's what they say, but I don't think it actually can. All I know is it's super painful.
It didn't take long until the cow killer got to the edge of the container and then stepped onto my arm.
Now we just hope and pray this doesn't sting me right now. So I don't want to make any sudden movements, then it's going to know I'm bad and it's going to try to sting me.
Now, I had to let it stay on me for at least a minute. So in the meantime, I just tried to talk with my mom to distract me.
What is the purpose of this? You want to bond with your pet?
Yeah, because everyone bonds with their dog and stuff. I just want to bond with my cow killer. You see how its sting is just like crawling along me? It could accidentally sting me at any moment.
At this point, it started to look more aggravated, and as soon as the timer hit 60 seconds, I put the container in front of it, hoping it would crawl in. But it ended up crawling around it onto the side of my arm, where it eventually fell off onto the table. So I quickly scooped it up back into its container.
We got it. That was actually really nerve-wracking. I don't know if I was saying a lot. I was actually like, my heart was pounding like 200 beats a second. But now I can say I've been bonded with a cow killer.
What are you going to name
The
it?
cow killer.
The cow killer.
That's a cool name.
Whew, I'm very happy I didn't get stung by that, but let me tell you, a little while after that video was posted, I came across this abandoned tank. Today, I found a listing of a pet snake's home. When I clicked on it, I saw a pretty trash enclosure with paper towels as the floor, dirt all over the glass, and none of the stuff a snake would actually need.
Hey, $55. It's honestly not that bad of a deal. Let's go save this snake.
So I drove out to the cellar and bought the tank for $55.
Okay, I just got this in my car, and I've got to take this home quickly to make sure the snake inside is healthy. And if it is, I'm going to revamp this trash into a dream home to give the snake inside his best life. I've got no time to waste. Let's go.
After getting it home, the first step was to, of course, remove the snake from the enclosure.
So I have this tool to grab it. I really hope the snake in there isn't venomous. I have to be super careful.
I obviously didn't want to get my hands anywhere near this enclosure since the snake could be anywhere, so I used the tool to try and take out as many of the objects as I could. And it didn't take long until when I moved this piece of paper towel, I saw a glimpse of the snake under it. Thankfully, after seeing it move, it looked like it was still in good health, so I picked it up to take a closer inspection.
Okay, come on, snake. Let me get you in this temporary tank real quick.
And after comparing the colors and pattern of the snake to a bunch of different species, I think I found out exactly what species it was.
Okay, check this out. This is called a Kenyan sand boa, and this looks exactly like the one I got. Okay, if this is actually a Kenyan sand boa, that means it's not venomous, and I should actually be able to just go and pick it up. Are you gonna bite me?
Now, at first, I was pretty scared to pick it up, but then I realized it was actually super chill and friendly and wouldn't bite me at all.
Oh, look at this. Okay, from what I know, this species is actually a super good pet, so this is gonna be awesome.
But the main reason I was so excited about this species is because they have this special ability to burrow themselves in the floor and pop out to strike prey when it walks by. And yeah, I'm gonna get to watch that happen. It's so cool. Anyways, first, to start this enclosure transformation process, step number 1 is to take out the ugly remaining decorations.
Okay, I have no idea why there's all this random stuff in here, like a giant fake plant. This is not at all what sand boas need.
So of course, I gathered all of that up and threw it straight into the garbage bin where it belongs.
Then that leaves us with this. This is so bad. There's just paper towels as the floor and a random pile of dirt. Yeah, sand boas need at least a couple inches of substrate for the floor so they can go in it and burrow. So this is definitely not good enough. Yeah, let's get this out of here. And like, why is there just random like red stains on this? Yeah,
After taking the remaining dirt out, I had to finally get out a little razor and scrape off all these little piles of glue and dirt off the wall. I have no idea why they were there, but they're ugly, so they gotta go.
Well, we're back to just the tank now, and this is where things get fun.
You see, the first step to build the snake's dream home is to create the background. And to do that, I used some animal-safe spray foam to cover the entire back of the glass so I could attach rocks and sticks. You see, I want to create a mix of a desert and forest in this enclosure to sort of mimic the snake's natural habitat. And to complete that look, I covered the remaining foam in some sand and other foresty decorations like dirt.
All right, this background's looking pretty nice and foresty, but for step 2 of making this a dream home is to put the floor and decorations in.
But before I can put any dirt in here, I first have to fill it with a bunch of these clay balls and then cover those with some window screen.
Now, if you're a terrarium expert, you already know what I'm doing. Basically, what I've built here will allow water to pass through just like that, but not dirt, essentially creating a drainage layer in here which will stop mold from growing. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Now for the substrate mix that goes on top, we're only going to use a little bit of sand. You see, despite being called a sand boa, it's actually better for the species to have this wood chip stuff called cypress bedding make up most of the floor. But I also mixed in some other brown foresty stuff to make it a little bit softer. Finally, I poured a few inches of that inside and covered it in a thin layer of just dirt to make it less ugly.
Now for the decorations, and as you can see, I got a ton of stuff, but I want to make this interesting to watch, so start this super cool, epic building decorations montage. Let's go. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But now you're probably noticing that the left and right sides of the enclosure are looking pretty barren and empty. Well, that's because step number 3 is to put DIY decorations there.
First up, the left side. Here, I want to build a giant massive tree trunk that looks like it has leaves and stuff coming off of it. And to do that, I went and gathered all the wood I had in my house into a big container so I could easily access it.
This is all just leftover wood from previous videos. Yeah, sometimes I buy a little bit too much, but today it's gonna have a use.
Now, I didn't have much of an idea of how I would do this, but I figured I would just start by using spray foam to connect little pieces of the wood together, and then I continued to stack the wood up to make it look like the trunk of a tree, and then I stuck some branches onto it.
All right, this is a little bit looking like a tree trunk. I still gotta go and cover this exposed spray foam, but for now, check this out. It's just a bunch of carpet moss. I'm basically just gonna attach it to the tree so it looks like there's a bunch of leaves coming off of it. Should look pretty good. Let's do that.
And so using my hot glue gun, that's exactly what I did. After putting the moss all over it, I covered most of the exposed spray foam with some dirt and then glued a couple actual leaves hanging from the tree.
All right, this looks just like a tree, and we're done. Oh. Yeah. Anyways, that means we can move to the right side DIY decoration. And to start that, I've got the base right here.
This is a normal cave decoration that you could buy for snakes to hide in. But I ended up getting out some real rocks and using more spray foam to attach them all around the cave. You know, I didn't want it to just look like a normal boring decoration that I bought. So yeah, this made it look nice and natural.
All right, there we go. A nice little rock cave. And as you can see, it's pretty deep and dark in there. Wait, let me see if I can turn on my flashlight. Oh yeah, I got the light on and look at that. You can just see down in there. It's nice and pretty cozy. How about this snake's gonna like to go and hide in there?
But now for the final step to finishing this foresty dream home is to get some plants.
All right, and as usual, I don't have any plants, so let's go to the plant store. Okay, I'm at the plant store, and as you can see, they got a nice, beautiful selection here, but I actually just need to pick out, like, the smallest ones I could find. Okay, here's the small section. Let me just pick out some of this grass stuff. Oh, I'm gonna get this little one here, and oh man, I was just gonna get 2, but I'm just gonna let myself go crazy. Let's get this one too.
After driving home, I got the plants out and put them around in the enclosure. But after doing that, I still felt like there wasn't enough greenery, so I got some of the carpet moss from earlier and scattered that around too.
All right, and now to finish this off, I just want to put a nice heat bulb right there, and then put a UVB bulb right next to it, and as you can see, looks pretty good. Got those going.
As you can see in the basking spot under the heat lamp, it was a nice 90 degrees, and over in the cooler side of the enclosure, it was about 75 degrees, which is perfect for the snake, so it can decide how hot or cold it wants to be. Well, anyways, this enclosure has been completely transformed from that pretty trash home into a chunk of nature that I think the snake is gonna enjoy a lot.
All right, well, I guess let me just take these paper towels out. I've just been keeping the Kenyan sand boa in this temporary enclosure, and oh, look at you. All right, so I'm just gonna go and pick them up just like this, and welcome to your new home, boy. I hope you like it. Oh, and he's just already going straight into the dirt. Hey, I guess I'll see you later, man.
Yeah, when I said these guys like to burrow in the floor, I really meant it. I don't know how long it's been since this guy's had the chance to be able to do it, but you can tell he was loving it.
Bro, I don't even know where the snake went. Oh, wait, no, you can see its tail right there, but other than that, it's completely just disappeared.
But if you look closely in this footage, you can see the dirt slightly moving around from where this guy was digging underground.
Well, I want to get this guy fed right away since I don't know when he last ate. But yeah, I don't have any mice right now to feed it, so I got to go to the store to go buy them. Let's go. All right, I'm at Petco right now, and let me just find the frozen mice section. Okay, here they are. And as you can see, they got all these just kept in little bags like this small rat. But since my Sambo is kind of small, let's just get some of these super small fuzzy mice, which are like the size of my thumb. Okay, let me get like 3 of these.
When I got home, I let water run over one of the frozen mice to thaw it out. And once it was thawed, I took it out the package to feed to the snake.
All right, well, I've got the mouse here, just grabbing it by the tail with some tweezers. And let's just see if the snakes can go in and eat it.
The snake was somewhere burrowed in the floor, so I just laid the mouse on top and waited about 10 minutes to see if maybe it would pick up the scent or something and eat it. But after 10 minutes, I saw literally nothing.
Okay, well, clearly having the mouse just stay still is not working, so I'm gonna pick it up by the tail again and just kind of start shaking it up and down on top of the dirt. And I'm hoping this is gonna create little vibrations, which will set off the snake's predator instincts, and it'll come pop up, hopefully sometime around now. Hello?
So I did that for about 5 minutes, and unfortunately not even that worked. But I think I knew why the snake wasn't coming up to eat. So to fix the problem, I drove to Petco again, and this time came home with a way smaller mouse. So I did that same thing with the smaller mouse and wiggled it above right where the snake was, and immediately this happened.
Oh, yo, it just ate it. Okay. I was trying to do that for a while, but look at that. That was so cool. It just popped up out of the dirt, and oh man, imagine being a live mouse and you have to deal with that.
And as you can see, it didn't take long for the snake to start expanding its mouth so it can completely engulf the mouse.
Yo, look at this snake, bro. He is just going crazy. I can't even film this. His body's just wrapped around the mouth. You can even see his mouth. Oh my god, that is so cool to watch.
You see, because this is a boa, they wrap around their prey to constrict it. Even though it is a little disgusting, it's one of the coolest things to watch in all of nature. That was a sick transformation for that snake, and now let's get back to some weird pets. And next up is a black widow. This was one of my coolest videos. I just found this video where a guy named Coyote Peterson lets a black widow crawl all over his arm. Watching this made me think that maybe black widows weren't as vicious as I thought, and maybe I could keep one as a pet.
And so I found a random sketchy website that'll sell me just that. Why do they even sell these as pets, bro? I don't know. Let me just add this to the cart.
And thanks to the one-day delivery, literally the next day, I opened up my door to the package.
Okay, there we go. I guess this should be the black widow. And I genuinely think this is the most venomous pet I've kept on the channel. But anyways, let's go open this up.
So I brought it to my table and opened the package up. After carefully taking out the packing material, I then took out the container that had a black widow spider inside.
Oh, nah, here it is. A literal black widow. But I did just figure something out because apparently I didn't order just one of these. If you look down in this box, I actually ordered 2 more. Yeah, apparently I accidentally placed the order for a 3-pack, so now I have 3 black widows.
But I wanted to take a closer look, so I opened up a container to let a spider out. And I guess it was a bit dizzy because instantly it fell on its back to reveal that iconic red hourglass shape, which warns you that this spider is nothing to mess around with. It has a potent bite.
Oh, shoot, it's trying to escape. Put it in the container. Okay. Whew. I gotta be more careful with these things, man.
But these 3 spiders aren't gonna spin webs in these tiny containers. They were gonna need a proper enclosure, which I needed to build by first covering a bunch of spray foam with dirt and wood chip stuff to make the background. But in the middle, I put in this rock background and spray foamed normal rocks to it. You see, I'm gonna separate the enclosure into a forest, a cave, and a home interior to see where black widows like to make webs and hunt the most. For the home interior part, I got a piece of styrofoam and painted a brick pattern onto it to, you know, make it look like a brick wall like a lot of homes have, and so I spray foamed that in, and the background was now complete.
And now we gotta do the web building bases. And basically what that means is we just put sticks and stuff so the spiders can spin their webs in here.
To start, I'm gonna lay down a simple substrate across the entire enclosure that I'll be able to customize to each environment. But first of all, the forest, and as I'm sure you can imagine, we're gonna put some wood in here, just enough on the 2 sides for a solid web to be made in between. And then I'm even gonna glue some moss coming down from the ends of the branches so it sort of looks like leaves on a tree.
And then I'm gonna get this bag of leaves that I bought. And don't ask me why I didn't just pick them up from outside. I don't know why I bought these.
But anyways, with those, I scattered them along the bottom, so it looked like a forest floor with all the fallen leaves everywhere. And last but not least, I got some tiny rocks and scattered them around too. Just a few, because I gotta save most for the cave. And speaking of the cave, we're gonna start right away by laying down some rocks, because that's pretty much all they got. But as you can see in this photo, there's actually a bunch of these pointy rocks called stalagmites. And I think they would work perfectly in my enclosure, so let me get some.
Alright, so I've got a big rock and a hammer right there, so I guess let me just try to carve some of those stalagmites out of this. So I guess I'll just go and try and hit it. I don't really know if this is gonna work, but gonna break. Hello?
Eventually, after a bit of hitting, I got a few pieces that when connected sorta looked like stalagmites, so I went and attached them together with spray foam. And then, using more spray foam, I stuck them all into place pointing up in the cave section of the enclosure. Finally, I went and sprinkled some normal colored rocks around and then some different colored rocks around because, yeah, we literally just put rocks everywhere for this section.
Alright, once this spray foam dries, I'm gonna go in and paint it, but for now, let's work on the home interior section. And to start, I've got this carpet-like material, which I'm gonna cut out to shape, and then I'm just gonna go and put it in there, and boom.
Now I need to get some mini home furniture in here that the spider will be able to spin his webs from.
And my only idea for how I can get that is to build it with some Legos. So yeah, let's get building, baby.
First of all, using black bricks, I stacked them up to make this little lampshade thing. Then with some red bricks, I made a tiny little couch. Now a chair made of brown bricks. Finally, I just took the rest of my bricks to make a randomly color assorted red and white shelf. Yeah, I'm a master builder, as you can tell. Anyways, I went and put each of those inside and even got some little dollhouse furniture to fill in the dead space, and boom, shakalaka. That's what I call a home house interior. I know a lot of Black Widows love to live inside houses, so one of them should definitely like this place.
But the next step on the list is to get some plants, like always. So, you already know, let's go to the plant store.
First of all, I went to Walmart and just got a couple tiny plants for the forest section of the enclosure, but then I also drove to Home Depot, which I knew would have a slightly larger selection.
And basically here, I want to get something that's gonna work for the cave, and ooh, something like this actually could work. It's like draping vines or something. That'll actually work perfect.
Then finally, I went to Office Max.
Now, you might be wondering what plants I'm gonna get at Office Max, but actually, I'm not even getting any plants. I'm actually gonna be printing out some pictures to put as paintings in the house interior. Oh yeah, baby, look at these paintings. Let's go.
When I got home, I first put the 2 land plants in the forest section, which as you can see, I ended up getting a beautiful red plant to match the red on Black Widows. Then I took apart the plant from Home Depot and glued the vines coming down from the top of the cave section. Finally, I glued some more moss all along the forest section because I felt like it wasn't green enough. And then I added a bit of this dead type of fern moss along parts of the cave because I felt like it matched pretty well.
Oh, and I almost forgot the most important part, the stupid AI generated pictures for the house interior.
So I cut them out and glued them along sides of the brick wall. There were many great works of art, like a Black Widow flying in the sky with wings, a Black Widow dancing in a disco room, and a Black Widow eating a male after mating, which yes, they actually do that in the wild. Now you see, in the wild, Black Widows are actually cannibals towards other female Black Widows, which means my 3 Black Widows cannot be able to access each other, or, you know, they'd probably eat each other.
So I've got these acrylic sheets, which should act as good separators.
So I went and measured them to size and then cut them out.
There we go, that fits perfectly. And now, last but not least, I'm gonna put in one of these reptile foggers.
Basically, when you turn this dial, it spits a bunch of fog out the end of this tube. Black Widows love a high humidity to make their webs, so this should encourage them to do that quickly. And well, I would say this enclosure is now 100% complete, but that does mean I gotta actually let the Black Widows loose in here, which I'm kind of scared to do, but let's just do it.
And as you can see, I've got the 3 Black Widows in their own little containers. So I've got the first one. Let's let this guy loose into the forest. Then I'm gonna put the second one into the cave section like that. Then finally, the 3rd Black Widow in the home interior section.
And while all the spiders were now in their new home, I took an interest to the one in the forest area. You see, this one immediately started to crawl all around her new home and even made her way up to the roof of the enclosure. There on the roof, you can see she started to walk around with a little strand of silk coming out the end of the abdomen. She was already building a web. Spiders, of course, do this to catch prey, and Black Widows in specific have some of the strongest silk out of any spider, which is somehow produced in these little silk glands that they have. Anyways, I left the Black Widow to continue with that, and the next day I came back and opened up the top of the enclosure. You could see the area where she was constructing the web, and now she was hiding in this little crevice.
So much for building this enclosure. I built all this forest area just for the spider to make her web right in this little area. Well, at least she has something, because that means now I can try and feed her a bunch of different types of food to see which they like the most, starting with mealworms.
Now I wanted to start small, and as you can see, these mealworms I bought are absolutely minuscule. They're barely the size of the tip of my finger, but hopefully the spider will still like them. Using some tweezers, I dropped a mealworm straight into the spider's web, and immediately it started to squirm around to try and escape. But spider webs are specifically designed to keep little insects like this stuck in them. All the wiggling around made the Black Widow come awake, and soon it even crawled out, only to walk right by the mealworm and run away. In fact, this Black Widow tried to make a grand escape, and even webbed down the side of my table onto the floor.
Oh, no. Do not go under the table. Do not go under the table.
Anyways, I ended up scooping it into a container where I then dropped another mealworm in front of him, and once again, he didn't want to eat it.
Okay, well, clearly this black widow's not trying to eat any mealworms, so instead, I've got a bag of some tiny little crickets.
And these I'm gonna feed to the second black widow in the cave area. Now, if you remember, I put this spider in the enclosure on this little plastic lid where it already had a web. And since putting it in 2 days ago, it still hasn't moved at all. It might be dead actually. But anyways, I put in some crickets to see if it would eat. And literally right away, one of the crickets jumped towards the spider and jolted him awake, which I guess was a good sign because the spider was now finally moving. But when I tried to bring the cricket back, it scared the spider and it ran away into the cave. I almost lost track of the spider until I came across her again on top of the enclosure where she had somehow escaped to. I tried to feed her a cricket once again, but she just was not having it, so I scooped her back into the plastic container.
Well, it looks like this black widow is also not eating, which usually would mean I would go test the third and final food source, which was gonna be just crickets, but a bit bigger. But I kind of have bad news because I don't really have a spider to feed these to.
Yes, you heard that right. Since putting the third spider into the house interior section 2 days ago, I haven't seen it at all. It literally escaped my enclosure. And now, not only did I have one missing, but I also had 2 more that weren't eating.
This is genuinely the worst idea I've had for a video. Like, pet black widow. Like, what am I thinking? One is escaped and is literally crawling around my garage. There's only one way I can make this up for the content. I gotta let the black widow crawl on my arm, just like I saw Coyote Peterson do at the start of the video. So, let's not waste any time. Let me get my mom in here. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
All right, I'm bringing you in here today because I got a special job for you. As you know, I always keep the weirdest pets. And can you guess what pet's in here based off the decorations?
Oh my gosh. Is it a black widow?
Yeah, it's a black widow.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you see those paintings on the wall?
Yeah, I do.
A black widow? Isn't that cool?
No.
Why? Okay, I got them onto this little tray for you. And basically, you can see it right there. What do you
No,
think?
no.
Say hi.
No. I wouldn't keep that as a pet.
Why? It's cute. Well, I did say I have a job for you. So can you hold the camera?
Oh my gosh, you are not gonna put this on you.
Here, hold the camera. All right, as you see, we got the black widow in a nice little clear container. And I'm just gonna start by literally putting it on my sleeve like this until it crawls out.
You see, the plan is to have it crawl onto my sleeve, and then from there, it'll crawl onto my hand. So I basically just waited until it started to crawl out.
I have to be super calm right now.
But as you could have guessed, of course things went wrong. Because as you can see, it just started to grasp onto the edge of the container and not let go at all. I was probably making it pretty mad, so I quickly transferred it to a piece of cardboard.
Okay, so I decided to just put them onto a piece of cardboard, and I'll let them crawl out here.
And after gathering together a bunch of courage, I just moved the cardboard in front of my hand to let it happen.
Okay, I'm gonna do it in 3, 2, 1.
Lord Father, Jesus, please. Oh God, Lord Father, please. Okay, it's time to go off. It's time to go off, Lord Father.
Oh,
Oh, that was so nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh, how did you feel doing that?
the heart was going 500 beats a second.
I am so lucky that thing didn't bite me. And now next up is one of my favorite pet videos where I literally went and bought 7 of the coolest fish species in the entire world. In this video, I've collected the 7 weirdest species of fish to keep as pets. I've got species like one that literally has no eyes, the smallest in the entire world, and even a fish that can walk on land. Yeah, these fish are weird. But to start us off, the first weirdest fish is in this container. This is an archer fish. And all I'll tell you is this guy isn't called an archer fish for no reason. It has an absolutely insane special ability. So to get started, I got out a giant fish tank to build its home. I started with the basics like soil and sand, but started adding tons more decorations like rocks and tree branches. And I even put some overhanging branches, as this is very important for the archer fish. You'll see why in a second. Finally, I filled up the tank with water and it was ready for the archer fish. Hope you enjoy your new home, boy. It's nice in here. Now, archer fish are very territorial, so he immediately started to swim all around the tank to make sure he was alone. And when he realized he swam up to the top of the tank to start patrolling the branches. You see, this species doesn't eat normal fish food. They only eat live insects. So I got out a bag of small crickets and put them on top of the tree branches. And this is where the special ability kicks in. The archer fish immediately noticed the crickets and got into position. And after barely sticking its mouth out of the water, it shot out a stream of water to try and hit the crickets off the branch into the water. Yes, this fish has literally evolved over millions of years to shoot literal water beams at overhead insects so it can eat them. And this guy, well, he's got pretty bad aim. Yeah, he kept missing the easiest shots.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
But eventually he knocked one in the water and swam right up to it to gulp it up. And yeah, he wasn't good at that either, but he eventually got it.
Oh, you got it. Dang, that was actually super cool.
That guy's gonna be an amazing pet, and in this video, there's still 6 even weirder species of fish to show. In this next one, well, you're just gonna have to see it for yourself. These are eyeless cavefish, and as the name suggests, these fish quite literally have no eyes. You're probably wondering how it even eats food, swims, or does anything. I don't really know, but I guess we're gonna find out. But first, I got out the tank and started to attach rocks to the back because I wanna make this fish tank look like a cave, because you know, we're putting eyeless cave fish in here. We gotta make it look like their natural habitat. And once all the water-safe spray foam dried, I filled the bottom up with a bit of soil, sand, plants, decorations, and all that stuff. Alright, so I was trying to make this look like a cave, and it's not the absolute best, but hopefully you get the vision. You know, it's a cave. Anyways, I filled it up with water and got the weird eyeless fish out. Okay, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of confused on what these guys are gonna do when I put them in here. I mean, they literally don't have eyes, so are they just gonna like swim right into a rock and get brain damage or something? I don't know. I guess we'll see though. So I released them in one by one, and as I expected, this guy straight away swam right into a rock.
Bruh.
But apparently that was just a one-off occurrence because for the most part they actually acted pretty similar to normal fish. So before I fed them some food, I did some research to figure out how they act so normal and figured out it's because they have this thing on their body called a lateral line system. Basically, it's a bunch of nerves that can detect super slight water vibrations and help them navigate around. Okay, now this is the fun part. Since these guys are blind, we're gonna see if they're actually able to even eat food. I got these pellets. So I sprinkled them in and they started to sink to the bottom. And almost immediately, the fish's insane scent of smell kicked in and one started to go crazy. And within seconds, the rest of them joined in, and as you can see, they were going insane, eating up all the food off the floor like a bunch of piranhas. Yeah, eyeless cavefish are super cool and super weird, but we still got way more fish that are even weirder, including one that can walk on land. But next up, I've actually got 2 different weird species I'm gonna pair together. In this container, I've got both glass catfish and upside down catfish, which, you know, are both catfish, so they fit pretty well together. Anyways, before I show you how weird these species are, we gotta first, of course, build another tank, and this one's pretty similar to the first. Sand, rocks, wood, stuff like that, you know, and I wanted to especially make this one look like a swamp, so I even made sure the water was a little murky, and then I was done. So the first weird fish I put inside was the glass catfish, and if you're wondering why they're called glass catfish, it's because they're literally made of glass. I'm just kidding. They're actually made of fish, but they're called glass catfish because they're completely see-through, if you're wondering. If I put my finger behind the fish, you can literally see it through it. That's pretty weird, you gotta admit. Anyways, while these guys adjusted to the tank, I also added in the 2 upside-down catfish I had. Now, this will probably be a shock to some of you, but they're actually called upside-down catfish because they swim upside down a bunch. Yeah, it's pretty cool, actually. Now, the reason to why they do this is because their favorite food is algae, and when they're upside down, they get access to the parts of rocks other fish can't reach. It's actually pretty smart. Now, normally if I was upside down this long, I'd get a headache, but I guess they're fish, so I don't know if fish get headaches, to be honest. Alright, now I could just feed these guys just, you know, normal fish pellets, but I think it'd be a lot more interesting to feed them something cool so we can see the food inside their bodies. So that's why I've got this. Apparently it's just some frozen turkey heart, daphnia, and spirulina. Yeah, I don't know what any of that is, but it's probably gonna be cool to see inside their body. Let's drop it in. So I dropped in a few of the cubes, and immediately they started to dissolve into a bunch of tiny little food that floated around the tank. A few of the ghost catfish immediately went and picked it up off the floor and slowly started to chew it up and swallow it. But after they swallowed it, I couldn't see the food in their body anywhere, and apparently that's because their stomach is actually right here. Yeah, I don't know why they have the stomach so close to their mouth. Like, what if they sneeze too hard? The stomach might just like fall out or something. Well, now that the catfish have been fed, it's time for weird fish number 5, which is easily one of my favorites. The 5th weird fish is in this container. Yeah, I know it looks like there's nothing in here, but that's because this thing thing is called an Amazon leaf fish. It literally almost never moves, and in fact, the only way you can tell it's a fish is its super tiny fins and its eyes. But don't let this thing fool you, it's actually a fierce predator that will eat anything. But to show you that, we gotta get its home built. For the tank, I wanted to make it look like the bottom of an Amazon rainforest river or lake or something. Now, I didn't really know how to do that, to be honest, but I just stacked up a bunch of pieces of wood so it looked like tree roots. And after filling it up with some water, you can tell it had this orange hue to it, and that's because I let the tannins from the wood soak into the water because it's super healthy for this fish. So I scooped him up into his brand new home, and immediately he went into hiding. Let's play a little game. You have 5 seconds to find the fish in the tank. Let's go. He's somewhere in here camouflaged. And did you get it? He's right here. Yeah, basically impossible to see, especially when he's in the cloudy, tannin-filled water. Anyways, one of the coolest things about this fish is how it swims. You see, while most fish swim by flapping their back fin around back and forth, this guy needs to look like a drifting dead leaf. So using the super tiny fins, it flaps those barely enough to propel his body around the water. And yeah, it blends in pretty well. Now, in the wild, these guys mostly eat live fish, but I'd feel bad feeding them a live fish, so instead, I've got another idea for some live prey to feed it. Basically, I got this little toy that apparently lets you hatch your own pet shrimp from eggs. And I'm gonna feed them to the leaf, of course. Alright, everything's set up, and I think there's gonna be some stuff hatching in here in like a day or two, so I guess I'll just come back, cut to them. Alright, it's been a couple days, and I don't really know if I did this right, but if you look closely in there, there is actually a bunch of those little, I don't really know what they are, but they're swimming around. Something's alive in there, so I'm sure that's a good sign. So I used a little pipette to suck them out, and as you can see, there's a pretty good amount of them inside of it. Then I just sprayed them all around the leaf fish and waited for him to ambush them, or something like that. But I'm gonna be honest, he didn't really react to them at all, and he didn't eat any of them. But of course he has to eat, so instead I got out a pack of frozen shrimp, which are a lot bigger, and surely he would eat. I dropped them in right next to him, and it didn't take long until he started to suck them up one by one. Looks like he's enjoying it. Anyways, this guy's gonna be a great pet, but there is still 2 more extremely weird fish species, with the last one, of course, being the walking fish. It's very cool. But for now, fish species number 6 is in this container. Yes, this is literally the fish. It is the smallest fish available to buy on the entire internet. It's called a chili rasbora. And no, this is not a baby or anything. It is literally a fully grown adult. I don't even know if it'll be able to eat those tiny little pellets since it's so small, but I guess we'll see. Anyways, for its tank, I bought something to match its size, the smallest one I could find on Amazon. Oh yes, this is super cool and super big. As you can see, it's about the size of my hand. Okay, it's not big, but for some reason it looks like a Lego block. I don't know why. And it also came with this bag of supplies like rocks and some super bad decorations. So yeah, get this trash out of here. For the build, it was pretty simple. Just some sand, rocks, and little twigs. And after filling it up with water very carefully, it was ready. Alright, the little thing's ready, but I did just realize that we're actually kind of demoting him. We're giving him a smaller cage. But hey, I'm sure he won't mind. I mean, he's a small guy. Let's just scoop him up. And just be free, my friend. Welcome to your new home. Now, ignore how the water's a little cloudy in here. I can't exactly put a filter on the tank since it's way too small. But anyways, look at how much the chili rasbora is enjoying his tank. You know, swimming around and stuff. Yeah, he loves it. To feed him, I dropped in some of the pellets like I was saying earlier. And while he was swimming around looking like he wanted to eat them, he didn't actually eat any of them. And yeah, even if he did try to eat them, I don't even think they'd fit in his mouth. Like, to be honest, it's so small, I don't even know if this thing has a brain in its head. It might just be on, like, autopilot, going around in random directions 24/7.
Bruh.
But anyways, if you thought I was gonna keep this guy in here, you are wrong. That would actually be kind of mean, since they need a lot more room than this to swim around. So I scooped him up and actually added him in the tank with the catfish, since those aren't aggressive at all, and it has the perfect conditions. And I even added in 5 more of the same chili rasbora species, so they could school up and be friends with each other. Very cool. Anyways, that's it for the tiniest fish I could find, but now it's time for the fish we have all been waiting for. The walking fish, which I have inside of this container. But quickly before showing you that, I just want to thank you all for all the love on the merch. I've seen tons of comments of you guys saying you really like it, and because of that, it's selling out pretty fast. There's only a few of these items left, like the sticker pack, so if you think they're cool at all, make sure you go and check them out on the website. I'll remind you guys at the end of the video, but for now, let's go back to the walking fish. Now, the walking fish in this container is actually called a mud skipper, but this one in specific is named Franklin, and he appeared in my most popular video. But it's been 6 months and he's changed a lot, so I want to show you the new and improved Franklin. But before I can do that, I want to build him a new home, since his old home that I built for him is pretty old at this point. So I got out an enclosure and started by putting lava rocks along the middle and using spray foam to seal them up. You see, for walking fish, you need a land area, but also a very shallow water area so they can stay wet and swim around. And first, I started with the water area by putting down some aqua soil, sand, and then some rocks and pebbles to make it look more natural. And I finished it off by sticking around some sticks. See what I did there? Sticking around the sticks? Yeah. Anyways, for the land area, I used some coconut fiber for the base and covered it in a different type of dirt, which will have a more mud-like consistency once water is added. I finished it by putting some sticks around and a little bit of moss. Simple, but good. The final step was to add in water to the right side and then also a bunch of water to the dirt to make it muddy.
All right, you can see after we added the water, this basically turned into like mud, which is perfect for the mud skipper, of course. But the problem with this is it's super moist and mold can actually grow here super easily. So to fix that, I've got this pack of springtails, which are basically they're little bugs and they eat mold and stop mold from growing. So yeah, I'm just gonna put them in there like that. Nice.
Just like that, the enclosure was finished and ready for Franklin to be added. Welcome to your new home, buddy. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Now, if you didn't see the previous video about the walking fish, basically, they can swim around like a normal fish as expected, but in reality, they actually spend most of their time out of the water. And as you can see here, he is an absolute expert at that. As long as their skin is wet, they can breathe just fine outside the water, just like a frog or something.
Now, if you guys saw the last video about the walking fish, Franklin is actually deathly as scared of crickets, but it's been about 6 months since then, and well, I got some good news, guys. He kind of likes to eat crickets now, and I'm about to show you exactly what it's like. It's actually pretty cool to watch.
So I dropped some inside, and they immediately started to walk along the bank of the water area. Not a great idea, considering Franklin was watching their every move. But even after some of the crickets got extremely close to Franklin, he well, he kind of just ignored them. He wasn't scared of them or anything, but he just wasn't eating them. So the crickets got off lucky today, because I guess Franklin just wasn't hungry. So if you want to know what it looks like when he eats crickets, just imagine a cricket and then imagine Franklin eating it. Yeah, basically that's it. But anyways, Franklin is easily the coolest weird fish in this video, because fish, I mean, they're not supposed to be able to walk on land. That's just weird. Well, there is the 7 weirdest fish video. And this next pet also has a really cool special ability. It can completely camouflage with its surrounding. And it's a cold-blooded killer. You gotta see this. It may take you a couple of seconds to realize that there's a camouflaged mantis here, but that's all the time it needs to grab you and eat you alive. Yep, there's mantises that have learned to imitate flowers so well that they grow literal petals on their arms, all just to trick bugs into walking near them.
And apparently I can get 4 different variations of them online to keep as pets. So hey, I guess let me buy them. Add to cart.
And because of their fantastic one-day delivery, the next day I got the package. Inside was 4 little containers, each with their own mantis. There was 2 of these pink and white flower mantises. There was 1 dead moss-looking mantis, and also 1 black mantis, which doesn't really blend in with anything in nature, so I don't know why this was included in the camouflage pack, but I'll make it work. For the builds, I'm going to take out 4 enclosures and start spraying the backs of them, all of course with some spray foam, which I then covered in dirt and moss, and I did that to every single enclosure. I then even went and added some little spray foam mounds on the backs of each background so they all had some depth and variation to them. Now from here, I've got to create the camouflage bases of each enclosure, starting first with the 2 pink and white flower mantises. For these guys, I started by filling up their enclosures with dirt and attaching some smaller sticks hanging along the back of it. I eventually want to get pink and white flowers all over this, but for now, we're just making the base. I then used some of this green moss to hang off the ends of all of the sticks. We don't want to use too much of this stuff though, because the mantises don't really blend in that well with it. Then for the start enclosure, we're gonna put in those same dirt and sticks, but as you can see, this mantis evolved to have more of a pattern that matched this tan dead moss. So this time I put a ton of that moss everywhere along the branches. Then for the floor, you guessed it, more tan stuff like dead leaves, some more moss, sticks, and pine cones. But I feel like this enclosure is still kind of missing something, and to be honest, I've kind of ran out of all of the tan materials. So I'm just gonna head outside, and as you can see back here, there's a ton of these like dead flower things, but they look exactly like the mantis. So
let me pick off a few and take them inside.
But you see, I don't want to just shove these into the enclosure because there's a chance that there's some deadly bacteria and parasites on them. So to kill all that stuff, I preheated my oven to 250 degrees, lined the sticks up on a baking sheet, and slid it inside. Basically, because the temperature is so high, it's gonna kill all the bacteria and stuff on here, so we can put this in the enclosure.
All right, it's been in there for like 30 minutes. So let's just pull this out, and oh yes, it's looking nice and crispy. Maybe a little too crispy. That one looks like it just caught on fire, actually.
Anyways, I put those around the enclosure, and then it was done. Now, finally, onto the black mantis's base. And as you know, this guy doesn't really blend in that well with normal stuff, because like nothing in nature is black, really.
But I'm not gonna let that stop me, because I actually have an idea.
So what I did was go outside and started to saw a few branches off of some trees. Once I had collected a few of them, I laid them down along a metal sheet as they were now ready for my experiment.
Everyone, say hello to a blowtorch. Yes, this is real. Apparently, you can just buy one at Walmart for $20, and you don't need a license or anything. I don't really know how to use this thing, but basically, I just want to burn the wood so it's black. So, I guess let's just try it out.
So, that's what I did. Basically, the sticks catch on fire for just a second, which is just enough time for them to turn black. I also decided to burn them one by one in order to not accidentally start a giant bonfire in my house. I then put all this black wood around the enclosure and kind of just stuffed the larger pieces in the top of the sticks, and there we go.
There we go. Looks pretty good now, but I think we can go even darker. And we do that, of course, by once again getting the blowtorch, and we're just gonna go along the background and just kind of set it to fire. Oh, shoots. Oh, I gotta be careful.
To all of you watching, make sure not to try this at home if you're not a trained professional. And if you're wondering, no, I'm not a trained professional, and I'm literally doing this in my house, so,
All right, there we go. It kind of just looks like a forest fire went off here, but...
Anyways, the next step is to put some plants in here. And this is where the camouflage ability of each mantis is really gonna come alive. So I drove to Home Depot because I heard they had just restocked their plant selection.
Oh, dang, look at all the plants here. Wait, all these flowers are actually perfect. There's so many pink ones.
For the pink flower mantises, I of course got some pink flowers and a couple white flowers. For the dead moss mantis, there wasn't much to choose from, but I ended up getting this one, which was kind of the same color. And finally, I just got a green plant for the black mantis because there wasn't any black plants actually. When I got home, I of course got out all the plants and started by just putting them in the first two flower enclosures.
But I still feel like I gotta make these two enclosures way more pink.
And in order to do that, I went outside and went up to this pink tree I have in my yard. The flower petals all over it looked like a good color, so I grabbed a few of them and scattered them along both of my enclosures. Now, when I put one of the pink flower mantises up to the flowers and let them climb onto it, it's almost like it completely disappears. Anyways, now it's time for this third enclosure. Now, if you remember, I got this plant for this enclosure, so I kind of just picked off parts of it and planted it along the soil all around the enclosure. And as you can see, this mantis blends in all right with this, but it's actually going to be mostly used as just a way to climb up to some moss where she really blends in with.
All right, that looks good. And now time for the black enclosure for the black mantis. And for this, I just got a green plant because obviously there's no such thing as a black plant or... Wait, actually, there might be a thing as a black plant. Let me test it out. Let me put that leaf there. Turn on the blowtorch, and I guess just see what happens. Just start lighting it a fire.
And as you can see, when I burned this plant, it actually was turning black, but also had a slight side effect that it was completely getting disintegrated, and the structure of it all fell apart.
Yeah, I don't know if I could use that actually.
So I just stuck to my original plan and put the plant smack dab in the center of the enclosure. Yeah, it doesn't really match, but to be honest, it's kind of cool and adds a little bit of nice contrast to this burned wasteland look. And with that, we can now finally put the mantises into their new home and see if their camouflage actually works on bugs. But quickly, first, I want to tell you guys about something. As you know, I'm always entering my information onto these random sketchy websites to buy pets for the videos. And I recently just learned that a lot of that info, like my name, phone number, and even address, can get sold to data brokers. These companies will then sell your information to shady advertisers, scammers, and more without you even knowing. That's why I'm so glad that this video is sponsored by Incogni, because it's a service that automatically contacts over 230 data brokers and tells them to delete all of that information. And it keeps doing it even if your data comes back. In my case, I kept getting these random spam texts for weeks. So I signed up for Incogni and they showed me exactly which companies had my data and got it all deleted. Since using it, I haven't gotten a single spam text. So if you want to stay safe online, head to incogni.com/TerraGreen. My code TerraGreen gives 60% off an annual plan, and it's completely risk-free for 30 days. Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring this video. It's genuinely a service I think is so useful, so go check it out. But anyways, let's go get these mantises was fed.
Now, as you can see, I've got 4 different tiers of food that get harder and harder to hunt. So let's start by first letting the little pink mantis go. Here you go, boy. Come on. You gonna climb on? Hello?
Now, for the first food source for this guy, I'm gonna be using literally the smallest animal they sold at the pet store. Extra small crickets, which is the size I never get for my videos because, I mean, look at them. They're like even smaller than my fingernail. But anyways, let's put these inside the enclosure. Right away, one of the crickets started to climb along a flower. And I don't blame you if you couldn't see the mantis here because it's in its prime camouflage territory. If us humans have trouble seeing a mantis like this, I can say for a fact that this cricket definitely couldn't see it, and it made a grave mistake of walking too close. The mantis quickly struck at the cricket, but missed. But the mantis wasn't gonna let that stop him. So the next time the cricket came around, he charged up an attack and jumped off the leaf. Yeah, and that kind of just kept happening over and over. I guess they're scared of extra small crickets or something.
Yeah, the mantis couldn't even get a hold of these. I'm giving extra small crickets a 1 out of 10. But for the next pink flower mantis, I'm gonna be testing with him the next size up of crickets. We got some medium crickets. Let's see how these do in the enclosure.
So I went and dumped some of the crickets in and then put the pink flower mantis in. And right away, I noticed that maybe I had put too many crickets in because the mantis was getting absolutely surrounded by them. In fact, he actually looked pretty scared and was trying to just stand still to blend in and not get seen by the crickets. And the entire 45 minutes of watching him in this enclosure, I didn't see him strike a single cricket.
Well, I guess just any crickets are not a food source that baby mantises like. So these get a 0 out of 10. Get this trash out of here. However, this next mantis is a bit bigger, and I'm 100% confident he's gonna eat the next food source. Let's go and put him in the enclosure. There you go, boy.
Now for this guy, I'll be feeding him some dubia roaches. They're fast and hard to catch, but they're very nutritious. The mantis ended up walking onto this plastic lid that I had put in the enclosure, so I ended up just putting the roaches on that. And literally instantly, the mantis noticed them and turned on his predator mode. Right away, he struck at them and missed. But he wasn't gonna let that stop him because then he struck again, and this time he got a perfect hold of the roach. Using their sharp claws, they basically hold the prey in place and lock them so they can't get out no matter what. Then with its alien mouth, it sucks the juices out of the roach while it's still alive. Yeah, it's extremely brutal, and the whole time the roach was just squirming its little antennas around, but there was nothing it could do.
There we go. That's what a mantis is supposed to do. So I think I'm gonna give the roaches 8 out of 10. And that's because I still think there's room for improvement with this black mantis because I have one more prey I want to try and feed them. So I'm just gonna go and let this guy loose in the enclosure.
For this guy, I'll be feeding him flightless fruit flies, which is the tiniest of all the preys I've had, meaning it's probably the hardest to catch. But I've also heard mantises love flies, so let's see. Now it turns out that doing that burnt wood for this enclosure was actually a good idea because the mantis was just chilling on one of the sticks waiting for a fly to walk by. And after leaving him alone for a minute, I actually came back to a flightless fruit fly in his hand. It's a pretty cool shot to see the black mantis on the black stick eating a black fly contrasted with that white background. But I did kind of want to see him strike one of the flies, so I ended up putting him on a white lid and put a fly right up to his face. Right away, he struck at it, and yeah, he started eating this one too. Even though mantises are just some simple little insects, I think they have one of the coolest eating processes out of any animal. Well, dang, it's gonna be cool to watch these guys grow up through the months, and I've been saving my funnest videos for last, like a literal two-headed snake. But next up, we're gonna transform another abandoned tank, and this one was my coolest one.
Come on, Dad, let's get this in my car. Guys, we just bought this tank from someone who said he didn't want it anymore. And apparently there's a live turtle inside, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, we gotta get this thing home quickly.
Yeah. Wait. Stop. I think I just saw something in there. Wait, do you see that?
And after taking a closer look, you can see the turtle was right there, chilling under a piece of wood. So we took off the lid to get it out.
Yeah, look, the turtle's in here. Wait, should we take it out until we get home?
Well, we don't have a place to put it. Well, we might as well just keep it in there.
I guess so. I mean, we're not super far from home. He looks all right. Let me just put him back in here. There you go, buddy. I'll just cover you back up.
After we got it home, I searched around for a second until I found the turtle again, which looked like it was still in good health, so I took it out to get a closer look.
What species is this? I don't think I've ever seen this. It has like orange on it. Hold on, I guess let me just put this into my temporary tank. I have an idea of how to figure out what species this is.
So I opened up an AI app on my phone to take a picture of the turtle and ask what species it thought it was. And it came back as a Central American wood turtle, and even gave me some facts about it. But at the very bottom, it said said that it had the special ability to stomp on the ground to make worms rise to the surface.
Wait, that is actually so cool. I'm gonna 100% test that later in this video.
And look, it says it wants 50% water, 50% land for its setup. So I guess that's what I'm going to be turning this thing into.
Now, of course, I had to drain the dirty water out of it and take out all the trash decorations and sand from the previous owner.
All right, this is much better. And now to start, I'm going to put in this big rock background.
You see, the previous owner did give me these for free, saying they would fit perfectly, and he was right because as you can see, I was able to wrap them around all sides of the enclosure, and they fit perfectly, so I spray foamed them all into place.
And now, continuing with the rock theme, I'm going to take some of these rocks and lay them down across the entire enclosure, which will basically separate the land and water areas in here.
Since the water is going to be on the side closest to the front, we want to get some spray foam and block up all the little holes and gaps along the rocks. And before it's able to dry, I covered it in some smaller rocks and pebbles to hide the exposed foam.
And since this tank is integrating water with land, the best way to symbolize that is to build a working waterfall, which I think I'm going to do right here.
Yep, you heard that right. So I started stacking rocks along this corner here because this is going to be the hill where the waterfall will flow from.
Now you might expect to make the waterfall work, it'll be complex, but all you need in reality is this little water pump thing.
Basically, you just put that pump in the back corner and surround the extra space around it with some filter floss, which will make the waterfall also turn into a filter to keep the water clean. Then I lined some tubing from the pump up along the side of the hill, that way it was barely poking out the top of the rocks. Now you see, I actually did try to do a waterfall in a video about a year ago, and let's just say it didn't go so well at first. Hopefully that doesn't happen here.
Well, I really hope I set up the pump in here correctly, so let's fill it up with water so we can test the waterfall.
So I did that, plugged in the pump, and waited for it to start.
Why is nothing happening? It should be going. Is it broken? Well, it just went for a second. Wait, what? Oh, it's going again. Okay. Well, I mean, it's working. It's getting the water from the bottom to the top. So, yeah. It's kind of just splattering water all over me, though. I gotta turn this off.
Thankfully, I was able to change a setting on the pump to make it less extreme, which made it a lot more calm and into a beautiful flowing waterfall. So finally, I glued a little bit of rocks along the top of the pump to hide it and drained out the dirty water.
Well, thankfully, I got the waterfall working. So now it's time to finish up the floor and decorations in here.
First of all, I wanted to fill the land section with these clay leaka balls. You see, the two sections are mostly separated by rocks, but just in case a little water leaks through, this leaka should absorb it, keeping the land nice and dry. Next, I cut out some window screen matching the exact dimensions of the land and then put the dirt substrate on top of it.
But this land area is looking pretty boring, so let's get the basics like some small rocks and wood inside. Then let's put in some of this fern moss to add some color. And this is a live moss I've never used before, and apparently when you spray it, it actually just starts growing really fast. So in just a matter of a couple days, the entire enclosure should be taken over by the moss. It should look pretty cool.
And finally, I put a ton of these branches on the wall to fill in the empty spots at the top of the enclosure.
All right, well, the land area is now all complete, and my favorite part is this little area I made under the waterfall. As you can see, it's nice and cozy in there, and the turtles will be able to set up camp in there. And now it's time for the water area, which is a little simpler because we just got to pour in sand, basically.
And after getting a ton of that in, I put some gravel up against the edge of the rock, so it faded that rock texture into the sand texture.
And finally, we can't forget more rocks, baby. Yeah, pretty much this entire riverbed is just made up of sand and rocks. Pretty simple.
Alright, the base of the tank is now complete, and after filling it with water, it looked even better, with of course the beautiful waterfall now flowing. But if you're an avid terra greener, you already know what the next step is. Let's get some plants, baby. First of all, I went to Walmart, of course, which thankfully had just restocked their land plant section, so I could get some good deals on those. But I also needed aquatic plants, which I could only get at the pet stores, so I bought a few of those as well. After getting home, I got out all the plants and put some of them along the land section. It was mostly just some small plants to add some greenery, but in the water portion, I put in all the water plants, which definitely brought the whole thing to life a little bit more.
And now the final step to finishing this enclosure is the cleanup crew. And you'll see what I mean by that in a second, but let's go to Petco. Okay, now first of all, we need to get something that's gonna eat up any algae that grows in the water. And in this tank here, you can see there's some aquatic nearite snails. Yeah, those little things there. Let me get them in a bag.
And after getting those snails bagged up, I of course had to buy a couple containers of springtails, which I could put on the land and would eat any mold that grows in that moist dirt in the enclosure.
Oh yes, I'm happy they have these in stock. Let's buy these too.
When I got home, I first let the little springtails loose and they all scurried around in their own directions and took cover amongst all the dirt and leaves.
But oh, now it's time for the snails, let's just put these guys in, and there we go.
Now, the reason I chose this species of nerite snails is because they can't actually have babies in fresh water. You see, a big problem with most snail species is they'll have like a million babies, which causes the whole tank to get overrun. So thankfully with these guys, that's not gonna happen. To finish off the tank, I put in a water heater, a water oxygenator, and some heat and UV bulbs at the top so the right parameters would all be met.
And of course, the waterfall I built in the back should mostly filter the water, but just in case it gets too dirty, I've also got this tiny little filter.
Well, this place is now 100% complete and definitely is a big improvement from the trash I bought it as. And I'd say the enclosure is ready for the turtle. Let's get it in.
Oh, buddy, I got a big surprise for you. I know I've kept you in this temporary tank for a day, boy, but it was worth it because look at what I just built for you. Here you go, boy. Welcome to your new home.
Right away, the turtle climbed up onto the land to take a second to admire his new home. Then he jumped in the water and swam right up to a snail to try and start eating it, which wasn't possible, of course, because of the shell, so he kind of gave up.
Well, dang, clearly this guy's hungry, and I already know he has some crazy hunting tactics for worms. So let's go and test a bunch of different foods to see which he likes the most.
First of all, little turtle pellets. These are the normal food you feed your turtle. Nothing crazy, but they provide some alright nutrients. Right away, he picked up the scent and ate one of them. Then he continued to eat a bunch more. In fact, he was loving it so much that I even tried to do some tricks with him by dropping a pellet into his mouth. And yeah, he doesn't really have a good reaction time.
Okay, yeah, he definitely likes those. But next up, I've got a little cricket doused in calcium powder, which I'm just gonna go and put on the land. You gonna walk out? There you go.
You see, the calcium powder on this cricket not only makes it stand out more, but it also provides the nutrients to keep the turtle shelled nice and strong. Now, at first, it was just crawling around the land, so I knocked it in the water where the turtle, then it ate it. I didn't even get to capture the strike on camera since it was so fast, but yeah, you can see he thoroughly enjoyed it and even ate some scraps off the floor.
Okay, this guy likes to get his protein in. I like that. But he also has to get his fruits and veggies, or I guess just veggies. But I'm gonna try and feed him this carrot. Let's see what happens.
So I waved it in front of him for a second until he gave it a bit of interest underwater. He went up to it and bit it a couple times, but each time he bit it, he would just end up letting go. I guess his bite wasn't strong enough to cut off the carrot, so I cut a little piece off myself and put it in front of him. He then bit it, gave it a little taste, and ultimately just spat it back out. He's just like me, leaving his vegetables on the plate as he swam away.
Alright, now let's do some worms. And before I touch that thing with the dirt, let's just warm the turtle up to worms by feeding him some of these bloodworms.
Now, you may already know this, but bloodworms come in these little packets and are frozen. But when they're put in water, they start to thaw out and scatter worms all over the place. So I waved them around in front of him like everything else, and immediately he snapped at it and basically ate them whole. Out of everything I had fed him so far, it seemed like he was enjoying this the most. So it was time to upgrade them with some giant nightcrawler worms now. You see, what I did was let a few go down into the dirt on the land area to hide in there. Then I got another worm and waved it around in front of the turtle to convince him to come up to the surface. Once he was there, I waited hoping he would do something, but he kind of just stood there, not stomping on the floor to convince the worms to come up. I even waved a worm in front of his head, and when he didn't show any interest, I put a whole pile of worms in front of him, which he still didn't care about. I guess for some reason he's only hungry in the water. So after he jumped back in, I waved a worm in front of him again, and literally instantly, yeah, he grabbed it and for like 3 minutes battled with it to eat the whole thing up. It was pretty funny to watch, actually. You see, normally these wood turtles are supposed to do this: stomp on the ground, which simulates raindrops, which for some reason causes the worms to surface. And when they do, the turtle gets a nice tasty meal.
But I guess my guy's a little bit lazy and he doesn't want to do that. But that's okay because he's cute. Who's your good boy? Who's your good boy? You don't have to be scared of me.
Well, anyways, it was fun transforming the enclosure from what it was to this, which I think turned out really good. And now finally, for the last video, the moment we've all been waiting for, a two-headed snake. This is my favorite video I've ever posted. You're gonna love it. There is a 1 in 73 million% chance that a snake is born with 2 heads. But by some miracle, some of these snakes are able to survive and are able to learn to live with 2 different minds.
Now, normally it would be impossible to get one of these, but I just found this guy who has a pet 2-headed snake.
Hey Terra Green, I'm Max, and this is Mario and Luigi, one of the rarest 2-headed snakes in the world. They're growing a little fast, and I need you to build them a new enclosure.
Well, Max, I can definitely do that. So in this video, I'm going to create a dream home paradise and put the 2-headed snake inside. Now, there's not much documented research around 2-headed snakes, so this video will be a first for YouTube, showing off everything about them. Now, because this is for one of the largest two-headed snakes in the world, I got out a massive enclosure. And to start the build, we need to create the rainforest background. To do this, I covered the whole back glass with some spray foam, which would allow me to stick tons of large pieces of wood to it. You see, I'm trying to make a lush rainforest in here, since that's where the two-headed snake species lives in the wild. To finish the look, I covered it in dirt and other rainforesty materials.
All right, this actually looks cool how it wraps around the entire enclosure. But anyways, now using moss bricks, I'm going to fill in the floor of this enclosure. But also I'm going to use these slabs of moss and also some wood chip stuff. Yeah.
Now, with this concoction of stuff, I'm gonna add in a big tub of water, which will get entirely absorbed by these bricks. And yeah, you've probably already seen this before, but after mixing it, boom, we now had the whole floor in there completed.
Anyways, this is where it gets fun, because you see, two-headed snakes are so unique. So in this enclosure, I need to make special accommodations to, you know, accommodate how crazy they are. But the first thing being these things.
These are 2 rock water bowls, which I put inside of the enclosure. I just figured that the two heads are gonna want their own fresh water bowl, so they don't have to share. So yeah, pretty good. Anyways, I do just have to put some normal decorations around the water bowls to make this place look more like a rainforest. And I thought it'd be cool to spread a bunch of this leaf litter along the floor to make it look like all those leaves fell from the trees above. Now, I asked Max if he wanted any special additions, and he said most two-headed snakes aren't able to climb, but Mario and Luigi are an exception. Make sure to include tons of climbing vines so they can show off.
And lucky for him, using this, I just figured out a new trick to make climbing vines.
You see, first you get a bunch of this rope, not too thick, but also not too thin. Then you load up some silicone into a gun and get to spraying it all over the rope. After spreading it all around, you can add in a bunch of dirt and other vine stuff, and after mixing it, you will get a DIY vine.
And because the silicone on this hardens up a pretty good amount, it's gonna let me bend it around all the branches. That way we can get this hooked up everywhere along the top section.
So that's exactly what I did, putting it around every corner so Mario and Luigi would be able to climb to their heart's content. Now, to finish off the decorations, I put in a snake hide because pretty much every snake species needs that. But because we're of course putting a 2-head snake in here, I used some foam to put a little divider here because I want to see if Mario and Luigi pop out both their heads. That way they can scan for prey separately.
All right, the floor looks all good now, but now I want to scatter some plants up in the tree area to finalize that rainforest look. So you already know, let's go drive to the plant store, baby. Oh my gosh, I just drove to a Home Depot I've never been to before. And look at this. This is the craziest plant section I've ever seen. Okay, I'm gonna pick out some of these colorful ones. Let me get some of these green ones. And oh man, this is just amazing.
So I went around and picked out the coolest ones I could find and then checked them out. When I got home, I of course got them out and scattered them all around the upper and lower parts of the enclosure. And then using my hot glue gun, I attached tons of draping vines and even got out some moss like I do in all my enclosures to glue around everywhere as well.
Okay, this place is super green and luscious now. It looks really good. But to finish it off, we gotta put some technology into this enclosure.
First of all, this thing, which is a rainforest spray system, so we can make this really into a rainforest. It was pretty easy to set up. I just attached the sprayers in the corner and used some glue to cover the water tubing. And now when you go down here and click the button I attached to the side of the enclosure, boom, shakalaka, it's now raining. Pretty cool. Okay, the next technology is just a simple LED light strip, which I attached to the top of the enclosure and plugged in.
It isn't anything too crazy, but I just think the pink at the top contrasts pretty well with all the green around the enclosure. So yeah, I like it. Looks good.
Well, now that I'm done with this rainforest enclosure, I can now be one of the first YouTubers to show off such an insane, never seen before creature. Well, Max lives in another city, so the next day he drove a couple hours to come pick me and the enclosure up so we could of course put the snake inside.
Yo, what's up?
What's up, dude?
Max, the man, the myth, the legend. You are the person that probably owns the top 5 like rarest snakes in the world, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, the 2-headed snake. Well, anyways, let's not waste any time. Just check out this enclosure I built for them.
All right, already this exceeds my expectation completely.
Yeah, really? You like it?
Yeah, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, I tried to make it look like just like a crazy rainforest. You know, all the plants green everywhere.
Oh my god.
All right, but I did forget one thing actually. Right under this towel, come take a look at this.
Okay.
Mario and Luigi little figures.
All right, I like that.
Where should we put them? Just right there?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You want them together or you want them separate?
I guess the snakes are together,
yeah,
right?
That's true, yeah.
All right.
All right, I can't. This looks so cool. Let's get it back to my place.
Yeah, let's go put those 2-head snakes in.
Yeah, let's put Mario and Luigi in.
So we got the enclosure in his car and drove a few hours back to his house.
All right, we're here. Let's go inside. I can't wait to see that 2-head snake. Let's actually get that in right away.
After bringing it inside, I set up the camera stuff and got the enclosure ready while Max went to pick up Mario and Luigi.
All right, come over here. I want to show you something.
Oh, you want to show me something? Is Mario and Luigi in here?
Yeah, but before I show you them, I want you to realize how rare they are and how special they are, like that they're still alive.
What Max did is he pulled out the container that actually had the mom that gave birth to the two-headed snake, and he told me normally for a two-headed snake to be born, a snake's egg has the chance for twins to be inside, but then there's a super rare chance that there's a birth defect that causes the twins to only partially split, causing it to have two different snake heads in one body.
The reason why Mario and Luigi are way crazier is because they're boas and they give live birth.
So that's a boa and that gives live birth?
Yes. Meaning all the stuff that we just explained happens in the mother's stomach.
So yeah, one day this mom just gave birth to a two-headed snake. And as you can see in these pictures, it's a little disgusting when they're born, a bunch of slime and stuff everywhere. But despite all odds, Mario and Luigi were born that day and were perfectly functioning as a normal snake.
Okay, that's cool and all, but let's get to the reason why we're all here. Where's Mario and Luigi? Are they in here?
All right, yes they are.
Okay.
So we got the two-headed snake's current enclosure out, and immediately we opened up the lid to reveal the beauty inside. Mario and Luigi right there in front of my eyes, just chilling around.
This is something that shouldn't exist in this species. Two heads in one body.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This thing is like majestical.
If you think that's crazy, wait till we feed them. Watching them eat live is crazy.
And yes, eating with two heads means sometimes they will both separately try to eat the same food. And it's one of the most interesting things in all of nature. But as you can see, Max has been keeping them in this enclosure. And while it may look basic, it's actually not bad. Two-head snakes are super delicate creatures, and it's best not to have anything too complex in the place where they sleep. But he had me build this rainforest so we could document what two-head snakes do in the wild.
All right, so why don't we just get these in the enclosure?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, you're just gonna go straight and pick it up, okay? You're not even scared of getting bit at all?
I mean, it could happen, but once you pick them up, they calm down. They realize that you mean no harm.
Oh, that's cool. Oh man, they're chill. They're just sitting there.
So Max put them in, and apparently Mario and Luigi have never seen an enclosure as natural as this, so right away they got to exploring.
This is so interesting. So do these two heads, do they both control the body?
Yeah, they have to, they kind of struggle.
So which one's on the left? So
That's Luigi.
That's Luigi. So Luigi's trying to go left, and Mario on the right, he's trying to go right. So it's like, they're kind of like stumped.
Now this is actually a pretty common problem for two-headed snakes, but since Mario and Luigi are over a year old, they know how to handle this and continue moving on together. Now Max wanted to prove Mario and Luigi were good at climbing, so he picked them up and put them in the tree area.
So usually, is this boa like species good at climbing?
Yeah, they're pretty arboreal.
Okay.
And immediately Mario and Luigi started to work together to climb around. And Max was right, they were pretty good and got around with no problems whatsoever.
Another interesting thing about Mario and Luigi is they each have their own personality.
Luigi's on the left, so Luigi is what's his personality
He's
like?
definitely more go with the floor, more your typical boa. He's more relaxed.
Okay.
And then Mario over here is kind of feistier.
Now Max wanted to show the two personalities in action, so he took them out the rainforest and put them back into the other enclosure.
So just having him in here, I want to show you how Mario's personality is different.
Yeah.
Just having my finger in front of him.
Oh yeah, Mario's definitely getting a lot more like agitated. The one on the left, Luigi, like he's just chilling. Mario's
Smelling my finger, and Mario doesn't want to smell. He just means business.
that is crazy. But you're just like fine getting your finger like that. I would not do that. You're just crazy.
Now finally, before feeding them, Max insisted on me holding the two-headed snake to get that experience.
I mean, I don't really know how to do this though.
Pick them up from their end.
Okay, so we just want to start. Oh, they're kind of getting mad at me. I'm not gonna lie. Ooh. Okay, so we just pick them up and then
Slide your hand underneath.
They're not gonna bite me. Ooh. Okay, so I'm picking up a two-head snake. How many people can say they've done this, huh?
Not a lot.
Yeah, this is crazy.
As you saw, I was very scared at first, but eventually they really mellowed out and they started to crawl all over me. And yeah, they even did some crazy acrobats. That's pretty impressive, actually. But now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for, watching the two heads eat. So to do that, we got out a tiny little mouse.
All right, it's time to feed it the mouse, and this is just freshly killed, right? This is from your little mouse
pre-killed.
farm. Okay, let's see what they do. Oh, he just immediately went and grabbed it. This is so cool. So while Luigi's eating, Mario's just sitting there. And do you think Mario, does he usually eat less than Luigi?
Definitely. Mario eats probably once a month, while Luigi eats every week.
So for about 10 minutes, Luigi tried to get a good hold of the mouse and swallow it. But it was so interesting because Mario kept going about his day, just slithering around, while Luigi was still trying to swallow the mouse.
That is so crazy how Mario's just like kind of doing his own thing. Luigi's trying to swallow. Like, why is this happening?
It's two snakes in one body, so Mario's trying to move while Luigi's trying to eat.
But eventually, Luigi started to get the hang of it and got the whole thing into his mouth and down his stomach. And if you thought that wasn't cool enough, a couple days later, we got this insane footage of both the snakes eating. First of all, we put some mice in front of both of them, and like always, Luigi grabbed grabbed his, but Mario missed. But as Luigi started to swallow, Mario got bored and started to just grab onto the mouse as well. It was crazy watching Mario just latch on while Luigi stuffed it down his mouth. They even started to sort of fight with each other and drag it around the entire enclosure. So to make sure nothing bad happened, we tried to feed Mario again, and thankfully this time he took the little mouse and everything was good. Well, I already know Mario and Luigi are going to love this new rainforest I built for them. And if you guys have any questions about these two-head snakes, comment them, and I'm sure Max will let me come out again for a part 2. If you made it this far, it means you're one of my best fans in the entirest world. You just watched like 2 hours. So seriously, I just want to say thank you. It means a lot. And in return, please just drop a subscribe. We're trying to hit 100 billion subscribers before the end of the year. So yeah, please subscribe. But thanks for watching. Bye.